The first topic we're looking into here is pretty much the whole reason I decided to make this video. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the username 666 creepypasta. It's one of the most well-known and infamous creepy YouTube videos of all time, created by YouTuber and artist Nana825763, amassing over 18 million views and being posted way back in February of 2008. It shows a Japanese YouTube user looking for the channel titled 666, which as shown in the video is suspended, which is true. If you looked at the account for years, this is what was shown. The account was terminated, which is pretty ominous, but we'll get back to that. Anyways, in the video, the user continuously refreshes the page, only for it to get more and more disturbing, the channel morphing into something otherworldly and demonic. Obviously, the video itself is not real, but it is extremely well made, especially for the time, so it's remembered quite fondly in the YouTube horror communities. But remember, I said the channel was actually real and it really had been terminated, which sort of led to some believing that this legend may have some truth to it. But nothing could really be gleaned or investigated further, as once a channel is suspended, their videos and previous content cannot be viewed anymore. That was until this year, when suddenly the account was unbanned. Looking at it today, there isn't too much else we can learn about it, but it's still interesting that it was unbanned after all this time, leading many users on the Internet Mysteries subreddit to wonder exactly why. At first glance, it almost appears to be a glitch, or some kind of mistake. As interestingly, the channel does not have a handle, one of the newer YouTube features which allows you to create and receive a username which is unique only to your specific channel. Even if you don't make one yourself, YouTube will usually just give you one automatically, but it doesn't seem to be the case here. Looking at the About section, we can see the channel was created on September 8th, 2005, making it a very early channel, as YouTube first launched on February 14th, 2005. The user also has no profile picture. And the only thing we can see on this channel is a playlist titled Favorites, which includes 2 videos. One of them is a music video to the Finnish rock song Hard Rock Hallelujah by Lordi, which released in 2006. However, you can't view this specific upload today as it was taken down due to copyright. The next video, uploaded in November of 2005, is a Naruto parody song video titled Poor Poor Sakura, which features the hated Naruto character alongside the song Ugly Girl. Curiously, the video's comment section is mostly filled with people talking about username 666. Diving a little deeper into the song, it seems there is some confusion as to who actually made it, with some attributing it to parody songwriter and artist Weird Al Yankovic. However, it appears as though he is frequently miscredited for the song, and it was actually created by a band called Jack Off Jill. But that's basically all we have for now in relation to this channel, and it looks like we're no closer to finding out who the owner of the channel is or why it was suspended in the first place, only for it to go back up almost 20 years later. Here's a very interesting yet creepy topic posted to the r/Internet Mysteries subreddit, as well as in a post from user Ding Dong Man Ditch, where they show a very strange captcha they received. Off the bat, this looks like something you'd see in an analog horror project, which we'll get a little bit more of that later. But as one user pointed out in the comments, there are multiple other people who have received this captcha, so it seems this is actually real, surprisingly. But what's going on here? The most obvious answer, which is pointed out by quite a few people, is AI, attempting to generate a human silhouette. I mean, we all know AI is far from perfect when it comes to replicating humans, but this? Yeah, it almost looks creepy for the sake of it, right? I mean, just look at this last one. It looks like a person's head being impaled on a spike, while the first 2 look more just like creepy looking robots. Let me know what you guys think, because there's really not much else to go on with these. I would say though, it's almost as scary as when it asks you to identify pictures of bikes and you don't know if a small piece of it actually counts. I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. Those like overthinking, overanalyzing memes, but this is actually real. Once again, hailing from a post on the Internet Mysteries subreddit, we have this. Quote, mysterious YouTube videos and calls regarding a non-existent sick boy using a photo of Keanu Reeves. The post further details, quote, someone or a group of people was using this specific picture of young Keanu Reeves. Those people would call random people and tell them about this boy and that he was sick. Some people who received the calls would tell the boys some kind words and ask how they can help. Others laughed it off. They would also post YouTube videos with the Keanu Reeves photo and the same message in the background they were playing during the calls. Yes, it wasn't like someone talking, but a creepy pre-recorded message or a bot talking. In some of those videos, they would use actual recorded conversations in the background. The author of the video on this topic did very good research and actually found traces of the whole thing being an artistic project, as the name they have given the boy was very specific and was found in the name of a Spotify playlist. The author even contacted some people that might have had connections, but I don't think they found much after that. The video on this topic was in Polish and from a small account I cannot find now, so I fear this is not so known. All I need here is the name they've given the boy, but that's seemingly something I forgot the most. Now from here, the mystery only goes even deeper, as we get into the Pray for Dave story, which is a perplexing internet mystery only covered by a few channels on YouTube so far. It's quite the deep rabbit hole, which at first seems like an ARG, but much like other rabbit holes, the more you look into it, the more it seems to lead to dead ends and just never really goes anywhere. It all starts with a different Reddit post, first referencing the Pray for Dave hashtag along with a phone number, which when called would leave this message. Now, looking more into the Pray for Dave hashtag would lead to a Twitter account by the name of Rex Todd, which had the picture of young Keanu Reeves in question. There are seemingly incomprehensible messages among the tweets included with the Pray for Dave phone number. There is also a Rex Todd YouTube channel which similarly has cryptic messages in the form of videos using Morse code, again with nonsensical messages. Their YouTube description is equally puzzling, reading, quote, "An atmosphere waffles underneath the stroke. Dave challenges a variant underneath whatever protocol. The body fiddles the galaxy. The complex matter functions as well. Opposite a mechanic military explodes Dave. Dave escapes above the age. Does an accusing mount past the bush chain? The fiddle points to its T in the unclear faith. Dave solves a flower around a horrid stagger. A raid enters inside Dave. The course executive imitates Dave. The countryside composes around an intellect. The grammar routs its preface. A pole coppers an idealistic spirit underneath the baffle. Dave moves the breach. Should the visual indicator listen inside a transformation? Why does an elevator punt near a renewed referendum? A comparable penny noses within the community chorus. Hashtag Pray for Dave. Yeah, basically just complete nonsense. Eventually though, YouTuber Internet Mystery Machine, through a deep dive into a seemingly random New Orleans Reddit post, leads us to a band by the name of We Are Not Musicians, with one of their tracks found on Spotify called Hashtag Pray for Dave. But the rabbit hole goes even deeper, because one of the people credited as part of the We Are Not Musicians group is a man named Flip Fitch, and he was featured on another track called Crap Stacks, which also featured the band KFC Murder Chicks, a group that would lead you down an even deeper rabbit hole in the Aratus mystery, which I won't have time to get into here. Point is, this one goes pretty deep, with random connections to a bunch of different and strange internet mysteries, but why? What is all of this? Is it an ARG? Well, it's kind of unclear. Maybe it's all just the schizophrenic ramblings of a madman. Or maybe there's some deeper art project at play. Is it possible that it all really ties in with the Aratus mystery though? Either way, it's one of the strangest internet rabbit holes I've ever come across. Our next mystery takes us back once again to a Reddit post talking about a strange video they found which was recently uploaded. And I know what you're thinking. Immediately, it just sounds like someone plugging their ARG. But if we go over to the actual video, we can see it was uploaded in April of 2024 and has already amassed over 1.7 million views, with many people in the comments discussing how this randomly and creepily appeared in their recommendations for some reason. I mean, we all know the YouTube recommendations can be pretty weird sometimes and even encourage newer channels to show up, but this? As we can see, the video is only about 44 seconds long and just consists of a person unnervingly playing the piano while they look to be wearing a mask of some kind. The video also has a location which can now be put in the description if you so choose, to which they put hell. The video itself is untitled, but the channel is called Zeppelin and has over 50,000 subscribers. However, they only have 2 videos, this one and another one uploaded 4 weeks ago, titled bear_dance.mp4. This video shows a person, likely the same one, in a bear mask dancing to the piano music before falling to the floor. The description labels the video's location as heaven, interestingly enough, contrasting obviously with the last video. Looking a bit more at the channel itself, their profile picture is just the thumbnail from the first video, and their channel banner doesn't really give us much insight either. Also, the channel was created in September of 2020, almost 4 years before they would drop their first video, which is admittedly curious. Although for me, the weirdest part is how or why this video randomly blew up on everyone's recommendations for seemingly no reason. Like, I get it, yes, this is some kind of ARG, but how did it get so much traction so quickly? Also though, as pointed out by a Redditor on this post, if you look at their channel statistics on Social Blade, you can see they had previous videos up which got them a small amount of views in the years preceding these strange uploads. We can even see when they decided to likely delete all their videos, as 20,000 views were erased in August of 2021. Still, it's insane to see them go from 18 views in all of March to 46,000 in April and now 1.7 million in May. This is definitely one to keep an eye on. This is quite a strange website, which has been looked into quite a bit on various internet mystery subreddits due to, well, these weird and creepy images, which seem to be the only things that can be found on the site. What's peculiar is also the name, Gandalf.com, in reference to the well-known Lord of the Rings character. Even more mysterious is the fact that the site has allegedly existed for over 24 years now. Looking back at a Reddit post from 2 years ago by user Adam Did This To Me on the Unsolved Mysteries subreddit, we have a description of his encounter with the site. Quote, "In 2013, I was in an elementary school computer class, messing around on them with some friends. We began entering random URLs into the search bar and randomly stumbled into Gandalf.com. Warning, it's a little creepy. The site itself has very little on it, only a bizarre painting at the end of a stone/wood hallway. If you click anywhere on the page, it zooms into the scene and close to the painting, displaying a message saying, 'Gandalf is busy, please go away.' If you were to click it again, it brings up a link to the email address orcs@gandalf.com. I did send an email about 9 days ago, but never got any response. I had forgotten about the site until a few days ago when I spoke to one of my old friends and he brought up the subject. It had stayed the exact same the whole time. Upon revisiting the site, I thought this time to do a little digging into it and found more questions than answers. One of the first things I thought to do was check the Wayback Machine and see the history of the site. The first captures are from 1998. It was a Mattel company offshoot. As far as I can tell, the capture was very incomplete, before the domain became available for purchase. The first capture of the site in its current form is from October 8th, 2000. The site has been the exact same for 22 years. It's a bizarre fact about the site, but that doesn't really answer anything. The next thing I did was look for other Reddit threads, and found this 2-year-old post on r/arg asking a similar question. People there apparently started a Discord. They had a link, though it is expired, and I'm not familiar enough with Discord to figure out how to get to the Discord page. One person in the comments claimed that the creator was a crazy drug addict who thinks he's Jesus. There is also an archived X thread talking about it, but still no answers there. I'm not the most tech-savvy guy out there, so I'm out of ideas of where to look for further answers. I don't think it's an ARG, and if it is a crazy junkie, then why is he paid to keep the site up for so long? Well, the easy answer to this question would be that it's just a simple case of domain squatting, the act of purchasing domain names which may be sought after by people in the future in regards to media projects and whatnot, buying them at a cheaper price and holding on to them until you can sell it for a quick profit. This has been done and documented many times, so someone doing this with such an iconic Lord of the Rings character makes a lot of sense, as many have pointed out. But then that begs the question, why did they never sell it? Why is it still up to this day and for so long? And why the strange, unnerving images? The other theory though would be that this is some kind of failed ARG, which a few people posited as an answer to this, but there isn't really much to back this up. A user would further go on to make an extremely detailed and thorough post investigating this mystery, noting a few notable things, such as the fact that it was once held by a company called Mattel, like we talked about, for a while, before being acquired by whoever made the current version of the site, likely in the early 2000s rather than the 90s, and there is even a hidden page, which asks for username and password credentials to view logs of some kind. Looking into the same user's post, we get a lot more insight onto Gandalf.com and its possible creator. And here we have the man behind the slaughter. No, but for real, does this not look like it came from some analog horror? Delving a little deeper, the user writes, quote, "I only know of this site thanks to this post from a month ago. In my comment there, I shared some minutia I found. This domain belonged to a company named Gandalf, which used to sell dial-up modems. It was a sub-brand of the internet provider Mattel, which still operates today. Then the site got replaced with a domain for sale page, and then it became what it is now. The only thing changed since then is the email address that you'd be prompted to send an email to. It used to point to AOL.com, not at Gandalf.com. The AOL.com email is, interestingly enough, linked to a banned Pinterest account. Also, there's a password-protected page of Gandalf.com/logs. This domain is old, and the WHOIS protection wasn't common back in the day. I simply entered the domain to Woxy.com and saw the archive records from 2016 that contained the admin's contact data. His name is Dan Cowper, and he owns some other sites worth mentioning. Blamebush.com says, "Blame Bush and nothing else." Used to be a site with a huge criticism on the now former US president though. It's interesting that at some point between being anti-Bush, it was a gallery of some couple's wedding photos, and that there were the webmaster name and email specified. They were not Dan's. DCowper.com says, "Welcome, why are you here? No one else is," smiley face, and nothing else. Quite a warm greeting to all us curious internet researchers. Waveability.com says, "Waves a comin', and you'd be surprised, nothing else." Probably has something to do with his music site, lawrenceandmrfly.com, which is, although still running, not meaningful in this research. RebeccaColeMarsh.com, a photo of a person and a sign, "Hi there." This site has been edited once in 2016, when a child's photo has been replaced with the current one and the text was added. DanCowper.com, a short bio of this man himself, last updated in 2014 as seen in the web archive. It used to get changed often back in the Web 1.0 era. There are no outlinks to Gandalf.com. Also, there's a 2018 subsite about the funeral of Dan's dad. On the current version of this website though, which can still be viewed today, dated 2014, we get this super outdated short bio with 2 pictures. The bio reads, quote, "I was raised in the mountains of Southern California. Despite personal tragedies, I was able to build a web design company to support both local and international businesses during the web's explosive growth at the beginning of the millennium. The global economic roller coaster has presented many challenges. I consider myself a Renaissance man and have a strong background in computers, science, finance, law, and business." Back over to the Reddit post, the user delves into an older version of his archived site, which gives a little bit more background. Quote, "Dan used to work as a model in France. Then he switched to software engineering. He used to run a web studio called Clear Image Design LLC. It got closed due to the 2008 economic crisis and a divorce of 2 other directors. Simply by Googling his name, I found a recent PDF presentation of some IT company, which mentions a person named Dan Cowper and a photo of him from his back. So if it is him, then he still works as a programmer. So from everything we've seen here, it just seems to be a simple case of domain squatting. Maybe he even forgot he had the site at all. But either way, it doesn't really seem to be an ARG, because there's been nothing really new to come from this site in the last 20 years. The images are likely just placeholders, but who knows? Let me know what you guys think. Here we've got yet another Internet Mysteries subreddit post. Quote, "If I remember correctly, it's a screenshot of a 4chan post. Reverse searching doesn't give any results. Any way to find the post or information about whatever this is? Then we're left with this image. Honestly, pretty innocuous, maybe a little creepy. The grainy camera quality, sinister looking tree in the background, and of course the man with the, let's call it, interesting head shape. The lore rundown can be found in the comments though. It seems that this was the actual original image that this was based on, as the user writes, quote, "There was supposedly a real picture of an alien posted to 4chan. It was said that the image would get deleted all the time, and people were getting banned after discussing it. Basically, through different forms of investigation, it was determined that it wasn't real, and anyone who was saying the servers were shutting off and people getting banned were all false. But I believe this to be a parody of the whole thing, due to the way that the alien picture is framed. Alien on the far left side with a tree on the right side of the image." The user would then go on to show many more examples of various mock-ups of the image, so case closed on this one, I guess. And for the last one here, we have one that, when I stumbled onto this image late at night, actually gave me a genuine jump scare. This was the post I came across. Quote, "So recently, a lot of videos have been blowing up about a guy named Zarzor. He is an alleged Moroccan killer who ran 48 kilometers per hour. He's usually posted with the first image. However, I've not been able to find any info on who Zarzor actually is. Reverse searching the image provides no results. However, I think it's the same man as the one in the second photo, invite me to your house. It's been bugging me for the past few days, and I need to find out what the origin is of Zarzor. The second photo he is referring to is this one, likely of the same guy. Not as creepy of an image as the first one, but still has quite the uncanny appearance, let's say. Now, the idea of this guy being a serial killer is terrifying enough, but this added fact that he can run 48 kilometers per hour doesn't help much. Now, how fast is that in miles? Because I'm a dumb American. Well, running a quick conversion, you get about 30 miles an hour, an impossibly fast run speed. For comparison, the fastest man in the world, Usain Bolt, reached a top speed of 27.33 miles per hour. So that would make this guy the fastest known man on Earth. And can you imagine getting chased by this guy? Anyways though, YouTuber DNWUDL beat me to it in investigating this strange mystery, where he looked into who this man could actually be. At first, many people thought this man was a TikToker by the name of Zarzor Farah, who bears a striking resemblance to the man, as well as shares his name, which seems to be at least somewhat uncommon. I mean, I've never heard this name anywhere else before. However, his bio says his real name is actually Abdul Aziz. Now, as far as the running fast thing goes, like where did that all come from? Did someone just make this up? Well, apparently this comes from a random video from way back in the day of a man allegedly outrunning a cheetah, which actually was not real, surprise surprise. Regardless, somehow these strange images and the fact that he was a fast runner led to people making up strange and creepy lore, which can be found in multiple TikToks explaining the story of Zarzor. How he is allegedly a Moroccan serial killer that can run 30 miles per hour, was born in 1983, and no one can catch him or escape from him. Apparently though, according to these TikToks, he began as a thief that was never caught due to his running speed, only to be put behind bars after turning himself in, to which he received a 10-year sentence. He then got out and became a drug lord or something, and then would rob people's cars and stand in the middle of the street. He would also assault people and I guess eventually became a serial killer, according to this creepypasta. Then there's the other image, which may or may not even be the same guy, and it's unclear which of these images are edited or which ones are actually real at this point, but either way the story is obviously fake, but it's an interesting urban legend. Hopefully the guy on TikTok doesn't get harassed too much because of this, but yeah, definitely interesting at the very least. A Henobarbus Henocide image. A Henobarbus Henocide refers to this specific cursed image of a Japanese doll that is commonly associated with a Facebook user of the same name, who distributed disturbing material to people on Facebook in 2015, including gore and NSFW content. The account became popular in Spanish-speaking horror communities around the time due to the user mostly speaking Spanish in their cryptic messages and posts. However, even before this, the image was associated with the creepypasta Gurgles and Bugman, a lost episode story which was posted to the creepypasta wiki in June of 2014 with this image. I actually read this creepypasta as well as many others in a massive collection of lost episode creepypastas, which I posted not too long ago if you want to hear that full story. However, this isn't the origin of the image either. In fact, it dates all the way back to the Japanese site 2chan in a post on Christmas 2005, where a user posts a gif of the doll along with a chain letter reading, quote, "If you don't post this image on another image board within 1 hour, something terrible will happen at the end of the year. There are also people who died because they didn't send this picture." The image became even more popular over the years in Japan as part of the Make Me Cute meme, in which users would spread this image in Photoshop threads and other 2chan posts, asking to make this scary child look cute. But that still begged the question, what was the origin of this edited image? There were various chain letters inspired by it as well as the Make Me Cute posts, but the original version was actually found, posted at some point in 2004 on 2chan. This is the original Japanese doll, and that's it, right? Case closed. Well, about a month ago on the r/internet mystery subreddit, user Flash Simulacra posts a second image showing the entirety of the doll, saying it was found as part of a Yahoo auction. I definitely gotta say it's much creepier with the body being fully visible in my opinion, but that might just be because of the low quality. Still a great find nonetheless. The Shining missing prop. Here we have a really interesting mystery from the Lost Media subreddit. A post titled, "Can you help me solve the mystery of one of the most iconic props in movie history? Where did the real photo at the end of The Shining come from?" I myself am definitely no expert on this film, although I am a fan, so I will read Vulcan Witch's post to describe the mystery. Also, spoilers ahead for The Shining. Quote, "If you're any kind of movie fan, you probably know the famous ending to Stanley Kubrick's 1980 classic The Shining. Jack Torrance is told that he's always been the caretaker of the Overlook Hotel by seeing himself at the forefront of an old black and white photo of a party that is labeled Overlook Hotel, July 4th Ball 1921. This is one of cinema history's most famous moments, but the hero prop at its center was not made for the film, with the exception of Jack Nicholson being airbrushed into the photo. No one has yet figured out when and where the original photo was taken, and what real-life event it depicts, which is why I am bringing it to this community. Here's a summary of what is known so far. In 1980, Kubrick was interviewed by French film critic Michel Ciment and was asked about the photo specifically, asked if he assembled hundreds of extras for the shot. Kubrick replied, "No, they were in a photograph taken in 1921, which we found in a picture library. I originally planned to use extras, but it proved impossible to make them look as good as the people in the photograph." The 1921 date is not for sure though, see below. In 1985, a book called The Complete Airbrush and Photo Retouching Manual included a small portion of the original photo, showing the man who Jack Nicholson replaced. The caption on the page gives no information about the photo other than it dating to 1923, not 1921. This went largely unnoticed until a Shining-centric blog called attention to it in a 2012 post. The most recent breakthrough was a few days ago when Redditor Al89Nut identified the original man who Nicholson replaced as Santos Cassani, a quite well-known London-based dancer and more specifically instructor and author on the subject of ballroom dances like waltzes and tangos. This is potentially very useful information as Cassani's appearances at dance halls during the 1920s and later giving lessons and demonstrations en masse, judging competitions, attempting to set records. He apparently tried to dance straight for 24 hours once, were often mentioned in newspapers and newsreels. Summary of the search so far. The author of the 1985 airbrush book was contacted. He did not know where the photo came from. The airbrush artist credited on the film is Joan Honor Smith. I'm not sure if she is alive, if she's been contacted, or if it is likely that she would know anything about the photo anyway. I'm guessing probably not. Edit. Since I made this post, I found references to a couple of interviews with Smith where she says she doesn't know where the photograph came from. The focus on Kasani and the large crowd consistent with the 1920s dance hall craze make it very likely the event was somehow dance related. Edit. However, the universally formal dress of the men, tuxedos, and the detail of the one man blowing a party noisemaker in the front left is making me question whether it was a simple dance. The noisemaker in particular might be a more important detail than I thought, since it's hard to imagine someone bringing that to a regular dance. Might this indicate a New Year's party? Kasani was based in London and is documented in newspapers of the time, traveling all over Britain and Ireland. Kubrick was also based in London, and the photo is said to have come from an archive there. This adds up to it seeming extremely likely the photo was taken somewhere in Britain or Ireland. In Britain and Ireland in the 1920s, as well as in the USA and elsewhere, there was a boom in popularity of social ballroom-style dancing, such that a huge number of purpose-built dance halls were constructed, often but not always with a variation on the name Palais des Danses. It is quite possible that the photo was taken in one of these venues. However, it is also possible that it could be in the ballroom of a hotel, the floor of a theater, or somewhere else. Over the past week, many people have been poring over every interior photo of these kinds of venues that can be found, with no luck yet finding a match. A few notes about the scene in the photo. As viewed in the photo, the venue has no visible freestanding columns or overhanging balconies, key details that differ from a great many of the dance hall photos of the time that can be found. The most unique architectural element, for me anyway, is the distinctive, possibly diamond-shaped tiling in a few spots on the walls. To me, this is the detail that would be a potential smoking gun. The photo was clearly taken from a higher elevation, probably a stage. As several observers have pointed out, several of the women in the scene appear to be wearing heart-shaped brooches. Whether this indicates a Valentine's Day event or something else is unknown. Edit. There is also a tradition in Scotland of Luckenbooth brooches, which are traditionally heart-shaped with a crown on top. Not sure if that's related either, but worth thinking about. As is clearer from one of the pictures of the original prop, there appears to have been something handwritten in the top left corner of the original photo, but most of it was cut off for the film version. That's all I've got for now. Please help find this mysterious missing piece of Hollywood history. Weird CAPTCHA Part 2. If you watched Part 1, we had a similar creepy looking CAPTCHA, and again we've got yet another one. Not too much to delve into here, just a strange thing to find, I guess. This one again comes from a post on the Internet Mysteries subreddit, where a user tried logging into Discord inside of an internet cafe in Moscow, only to be greeted with this creepy CAPTCHA, as well as Russian text which roughly translates to, "Please select an object that drinks water in order to live." I guess AI and bots are just getting way too smart nowadays, and drastic measures have to be taken just to keep them out. Creepy Spotify sounds. Has anyone else been hearing strange, out-of-place sounds while listening to Spotify? Quote, I listen to Spotify most of the day, podcasts and music. Today I had a really strange experience. While listening to a playlist I've heard 100 times full of songs I know by heart, I heard what sounded like giggling or laughing between the tracks. I assumed that maybe I'd just missed that detail in the song before, because really what else could it be? Later I was listening to a podcast episode. It's a comedy show that can be a little crude at times, so when I heard a loud belch in the middle of the show, I assumed they were just joking around. But nobody on the show mentioned the belch, and it sounded like it was of much higher quality than the show, like it had been added in. The final straw came earlier tonight. I was listening to an instrumental hip-hop playlist, again songs I've heard hundreds of times. The second track closed with the exact same cartoonish belch I'd heard during the podcast, and I know for a fact there is no belch on that track. Has anyone else heard anything like this today or any other day? Am I just going insane? With no way to record it, I've got no hard proof that this happened. But it was so strange, I can't imagine my brain just invented it. Thoughts? A user further inquired about maybe possibly an ad running in the background on a different app or something which may have made the sound, but the OP denied this, saying that they didn't have any other apps open at the time and no games on their phone. Another user references a similar situation known as the Goblin incident, which was allegedly a strange Spotify glitch that would play a sound clip seemingly at random of someone saying, "The goblins were awakened," which comes from the song Run the Jewels by Run the Jewels.
The goblins were awakened.
Other than that, the OP denied having any history of mental illness besides ADHD, which they are medicated for, and they claim to have never experienced auditory hallucinations before. Overall, just a very strange story with not a lot of answers. SCP-106 victim is a corpse. Remember that whole thing with the Half-Life 2 burnt corpse model being revealed as actually a real human face taken from a burn victim in a medical textbook? Well, I guess we have a similar situation here. Makes you wonder if this disturbing practice has been done more times than we think in games and other pieces of media. This one comes from this image of the SCP known as 106. The image of the entity itself is pretty creepy and almost reminds you of the Corpse-01 model from Half-Life 2, but this isn't actually the one based on a real body. SCP, for anyone that somehow isn't familiar, is a fictitious organization written collectively by multiple users, much like the Backrooms, essentially an earlier version of that, with many people coming up with lore for the Foundation, as well as the various creatures and objects held within its facilities, known as SCPs, each designated by a unique number and an object class. 106 is of subject class Keter, said to be the most dangerous kind of anomaly. The SCP Wiki describes it as having the appearance of an elderly humanoid that appears to be decomposing. The SCP itself is, however, said to be extremely dangerous and will attack and incapacitate their victims before pulling them into their quote-unquote pocket dimension. Now, circling back to the image, well, I'm sure you know where this is going. This is the actual image in question, which in universe is supposed to be of an agent that was a victim of the SCP. About a month ago though, in a post on the Internet Mysteries subreddit, a user announced the origin of this image being found. The source? A decomposing corpse found in a German forensic textbook, which I obviously can't show here. The user also links a video by this Japanese YouTuber who I believe was the first to break the case on this, so shout out to them. Definitely a very unnerving discovery. Weird picture on shopping program. Here we have yet another post on Internet Mysteries, a bit of an older one, but still interesting nonetheless. The user provides an image of a TV which has a strange picture that appeared during a certain shopping program on their boyfriend's grandma's TV, of what they describe as looking like a guy standing next to a cave and an alien that only appeared for half a second before being replaced by a chain Cuban necklace that was being sold. Definitely strange when you put it into words like that, I guess. An image with a little better quality was provided in the comments, and it shows the guy in the back isn't an alien or anything like that. He was just wearing a face covering. As many people have suggested, it appears to be some sort of old news footage, possibly in a Middle Eastern country. And the image most likely appeared by mistake on part of the news station, but as of now we have no definitive answers, so let me know what you think. Black Dog Ultra. Here we have a pretty mysterious YouTube channel known as Black Dog Ultra that was brought up in another Reddit post. Going to the channel itself, it immediately screams ARG, the seemingly randomly titled videos with Russian text and numbers, creepy and bizarre thumbnails, all the boxes are checked. However, this channel isn't as well known, with less than 5,000 views total and only 121 subscribers as of writing this script. The first video was posted in November 2021, and its Russian title translates to Gallery 36. Its description contains seemingly random numbers and letters, which are likely some sort of coded message, you know, the usual stuff. Running a simple hexadecimal decoder, we get the message, "Drop intercepted 3 compromise," at least when it comes to the numbers in the description. I'm not exactly sure how to make sense of the other characters. The video itself, well, not really too much to see here. The second video, titled 6, is more of the same, just what seems to be Russian architecture with some mildly creepy music in the background. Once again, the description has a message for us to decode. The Russian text reads, less than a year old, and the hex code actually hides a YouTube link. Following it takes you to an unlisted upload showing a door number 185 with a title that may be Bulgarian for cards, although I'm not really sure about that, I'm just using Google Translate here. We get another 3-second shot of a building with what looks to be Russian text in the next upload titled Tenep, or Now in English. This time the decoded text gives coordinates, which leads us to the Independence Monument in Kiev, Ukraine. The next video is titled Preparation, and we don't really get much more info from this, and the next few videos are more of the same. This one though definitely reminds me of the Pripyat Ferris wheel near Chernobyl. It's not until this one titled Here that we get another code. Again, we receive additional coordinates that this time take us near the Moskva River in Moscow, Russia. Again, I'm not exactly sure of the significance of this area. From here there are a lot more videos and more coded messages leading to these coordinates in Turkey, although Google says the exact location could not be determined. And another message leads us to this NATO article on a Lieutenant General Lance Landrum, who served as the 23rd Deputy Chair of the NATO Military Committee from 2021 to 2023. Things only get more complicated from here, as Morse code seems to get involved, with uploads standby and commence. More videos, more coded messages, you get the idea by now. I'm not going to go through all of it, but the latest video was posted 3 months ago, which is hex decoded to Isaiah 17:1, a Bible verse. So, what does this all mean? Well, I'm not really sure. Another commenter suggested this could be connected to another rabbit hole known as Pelzer SC and the cult of Spider-Man. This mystery concerns another creepy ARG covered by Nexpo in a video titled 4chaner Unearths a Mystery if you want a deep dive into that. But for now, this is really all we have. Make of it what you will. Random SD card. You guessed it, another post on r/internet mysteries titled, "A weird old SD card literally appeared on my porch. Really mysterious. Need help." Admittedly, this prompt sounds very suspicious, but let's keep reading. Quote, "Listen, I know this sounds fake, or like the start of a lazy ARG, but this is 10,000% real. So this afternoon around 5 p.m, my mother went out to the car and came inside to show me there was a weird SD card sitting on our porch. She hasn't used any in years and asked me if it was mine. I haven't used one in even longer. Some context, our porch is extremely tidy. My mother and I were both gone all day and went in and out at regular intervals. Like I said, this sounds fake, so I was kind of shocked. I told my mom, just in case, to give it to me to investigate. So here's the lowdown. It's obviously well used. The back plate of it has a crack and there is tape wrapped closely around the bottom. It's either to preserve the writing, hold the crack, or maybe both. Something I found interesting was the tape had some glitter inside it. It's not something you'd find in our household. As for the writing, it's insanely hard to make out. It looks like have, maybe? It definitely ends in an E, so my camera isn't very high quality. It's a phone camera. Ask for any more pictures or info and I'll do my best. As for its contents, of course I'd be nervous to plug the SD card into a device and have it be compromised. That being said, I don't have an SD card reader and neither does my laptop. Any ideas how I can safely get in to see its contents? I can't stress how weird this is or how freaked out I am. The user then provided images of the 4GB SD card in question. Some people were skeptical, others were very concerned about what could be on the SD card, potentially illegal material in the worst case scenario, or some sort of virus that could take over their devices. Most recommended either not to look into it at all or to take extra precautions by using a burner laptop that is offline. Eventually though, the OP did clear up the whole mystery in a comment on this post writing, quote, "Okay guys, drumroll. So the mystery has been solved. It's nothing creepy or paranormal or vengeful as many would hope, but it is kind of sweet. So my mother ran a charity in Uganda years ago. At one point we had some of the Subi girls and their counselor come stay in Canada to do performances, and my dear mother fell in love with their counselor. Over the course of a few months, he took hundreds of photos documenting her humanitarian work, church work, and charity work in Ontario and Uganda alike. This was in 2012. When he was leaving, his bag was full of all sorts of dirty bits, and my mother shook it out over the mulch by the front porch. Little did she know this sucker fell out, and there it must have stayed until I posted this. One thing that didn't seem important is that my new dog likes to dig around the mulch while I have cigarettes. We ultimately think she must have tossed it up with a mouthful of mulch, as she had been at it that day, but the silver lining in this boring end, we gave my mother back memories and images she never thought she would see again. Her Ugandan love called her yesterday, and when she brought it up, we put it all together. She feels as if it is God reaching out to her. I don't know about that, but to see her with tears over these pictures means a lot. So I have to say, to everyone, every effort put in, thank you. Truth Sticks 11. This is easily the most disturbing rabbit hole I've come across so far in my research into these bizarre Reddit cases. There have been a ton of posts about this rabbit hole on the Internet Mysteries subreddit for good reason. In fact, this mystery has gotten so big there's even a subreddit dedicated to it called r/smartschoolboy9, named after one of the accounts in question. What the fuck is this? From what I and many others looking into this guy and his various accounts have found is that it appears we have this person who is posing as children through various Instagram pages, while also posting very disturbing content, including real photos of children, while at the same time calling out other people as being fake children and predators, while he himself is one of the most flagrant and obvious offenders I've ever seen on a social media site. It is truly bizarre. Couple that with the frequent posts covering sex trafficking statistics and calling other people while also posting creepy edited AI images of children, and yeah, you have one of the most disturbed individuals I've ever come across, and some of the creepiest accounts on Instagram. However, it appears the person responsible knows that many people are looking into his history online and has started deleting many of his online accounts such as TruthSticks11 and SmartSchoolBoy9, which the subreddit is named after. Luckily, some people have managed to archive some of the posts, and they are some of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
So, that's the account run by a man pretending to be a boy. School. Hi guys, I'm here at school. Hello? Hi.
A lot of people on the Reddit posts compared this to another case known as Pipergate covered by Nick Crowley. That was a similar situation in which a man ran various suspicious YouTube channels that showed strange edited footage of young girls while claiming to be an 11-year-old girl themselves named Piper. Although the identity of the man was actually found as William Whitaker, a convicted sex offender, and all around is just an extremely disturbing case. Looking at the TruthSticks Instagram page, we only have some screenshots and footage, as I said earlier, because the pages were taken down, but the bio reads, quote, "Beautiful boy and account looked after by me, a degree-educated mother choosing to stay anonymous. Good, original written work, advice and compassion." Then there's also the Smart Schoolboy page, which reads, quote, "Primary school achiever, mixed race and mastering millions of subjects, eventually. Account monitored by mum." Another user posts a theory on Internet Mysteries about Smart Schoolboy, writing the following, quote, "This is the guy behind the account, it seems. In Truth_Sticks_11, where he pretends to be the child's mom, in the first post of that account he talks. In that post, he exposes an account for pretending to be a boy that is actually a man to groom kids. He seems to post that for ammunition against any allegations of people saying he's pretending to be people. Anyways, knowing now how he sounds from that account, if you go to this account, the one in the picture, SmartSchoolBoy9, if you scroll through his posts, you hear the same voice of him. I also believe the supposed child is actually him dressing up as one. It's a bit obvious it's a grown man, as he's a bit tall for a 9-year-old when comparing him to the doors in some of the posts. He's also balding, which is not normal for a 9-year-old. I don't think this is trafficking or anything, but simply a man who is mentally ill. Most likely he had a traumatic childhood, and he desperately wants to relive it with a good experience. Sadly, I also suspect he's a pedophile, as some posts from the accounts he runs have sexual undertones. I hope the kids he's pretending to be in his other accounts can't be reached by him IRL or online because of this. Definitely needs to be looked into and reported to officials for that exact reason. Yeah, so at this point I think it's pretty safe to say these accounts are all run by the same disturbed individual, by someone who appears to be severely mentally ill with a very strange fetish, and is likely also a pedophile given all the weird edited images of children found throughout these Instagram pages. Some in the comments have even said that they've seen the account owner actually interacting with real children in the comments, which is extremely disturbing, and I'm glad that these pages have been taken down, although that unfortunately means some evidence is also lost along with them. Still, this is one of those times I think I can confidently say that this is not an ARG. It is just too weird and depraved for that. This is simply the work of a very creepy and disturbed individual. It seems like they actually get off on pretending to be a child while also accusing others of being, as we can clearly see in some of the archived posts, where they non-stop call out other people as being fake kids, while also posting about disturbing modern slavery and human trafficking statistics. If anybody has any additional information into these bizarre accounts, feel free to leave them down below. I'm sure this rabbit hole goes even deeper, especially since a lot of the actual posts of these accounts were lost. Strange Mario boss enemy. The first entry we're looking at comes courtesy of the r/creepygaming subreddit and was posted about a month ago. It features a pair of screenshots said to be from a Mario Bros-like game, featuring a very strange looking boss. The post reads, quote, "There's an account on TikTok with footage of this, at Xenosuke2000, and they claim every other boss fight in this game is apparently a giant turtle, except for this one apparently." Second slide shows a closer look of the boss. The game is called Super Moon Bros. It received 886 upvotes and 33 comments on the Creepy Gaming subreddit, posted by user Schrombis3. Most of the comments agreed that it was both creepy and a good find, with the OP responding to the top comment to explain that he'd actually downloaded this specific game in order to track down the creepy boss shown in the screenshot, but was yet to find or reach the right level for it. The boss itself is highlighted in the second image of the OP's post. Zoomed in to allow for a better shot, and it certainly is bizarre and completely at odds with the art style of everything else. Rendered in black and white and sticking out is obviously different from everything else around it. It has eyes pointing different directions and visible teeth. Some of the responses pointed out that the account where the OP had spotted the footage seemed to never respond to any comments or questions asking about the footage and the boss. This led some to believe that it was possibly either an attempt at some sort of viral marketing, driving engagement and downloads for the game, or simply a hoax. After all, the OP themselves admitted that they had downloaded the game and worked their way through it simply to try and spot the strange boss. So if it was a marketing tactic, it was certainly one that appeared to work. One response questioned whether the TikTok account owner was actually a game developer themselves or had something to do with the game. The lack of interaction on TikTok and the fact that they seem to just post and repost versions of the same video game clip seemed to add some weight to suggestions like this. Other commenters cited instances of fairly basic game rips of other successful franchises that had used a similar idea, playing fairly vanilla for the majority of the game, but with a very rare chance of some sort of strange encounter. User SpicyBoy313 pointed to the example of a game called Evertale, one that used the same format of creepy ads to draw in players. When they eventually played the game, it contained none of the stuff in the ads. The hype worked for Evertale though, and it brought enough attention to be covered in a video by the YouTube channel Game Theory, linked by user Popcorn Eater in the comments section. Especially given that the post is only a couple of months old as of the time of writing, it is very possible that there will be more to uncover on this one, whatever the truth ends up being. Schrombis, the OP, would reply to another comment that liked the idea of including these sorts of ARG elements in games to update that they had discovered it was the final boss of the game but hadn't reached it yet. His request for help on accessing the sprite gallery for the game seemed to go unanswered, and unless they reply with something new, the mystery will likely continue. Prank, viral marketing, hoax, or super rare Easter egg. Unless someone wants to play the game and explore every corner or rip apart the data files, we won't know for certain. Deleted deceased YouTubers. The next rabbit hole for us to look into popped up on the Internet Mystery subreddit about a month ago, where a user named civil_towel643 posted with the title, "So, who remembers the now deleted, deceased YouTuber wiki? I'm looking for confirmation if some of these accounts existed." Despite the interesting topic and image provided, it only attracted a modicum of interest with 59 upvotes and 14 replies in total. The post was accompanied by an image that showed a list of multiple YouTubers that had lost their lives in some way, and the OP had the following to say, quote, "Anyone remember the deceased YouTubers wiki? Here is a list of deceased YouTubers whose accounts were closed following their passing." The thing is, there is very little to no information on some of the YouTubers. We have word-of-mouth confirmation from the person who started the Squidward Fan 1982 rumor that he made it up. The ones in blue were other submissions that he made to the wiki that I can't find a trace of. Any accounts highlighted in yellow are accounts I can find some confirmation for. Anyone have any information on the others? Aside from Squidward Fan 1982 and the 3 accounts highlighted in blue that he made up, 8 of the others are highlighted yellow by the OP, indicating that they are at least probably true, and many are definitely accurate. Pekka Erik Ovanen, as pointed out by a later commenter, committed a school and took his own life during it. Tony48219, Anthony Tony Powell, took his own life after committing a murder in 2009. The ones that he is unsure of are 2 Real, who allegedly died on the 5th of December 2012 from a fall, the 7 Wins, who apparently took their own life sometime in 2011, and Dame at Hook, real name Kirk Willems, who died of an overdose allegedly on the 23rd of November 2014. User MemeGod replied with the confirmation that Dame at Hook leads to a horror channel that no longer uploads, possibly giving some merit to the claim. User Amelia Likes Birds would respond with a more thorough reply below. Quote, "Did some basic research on Dame at Hook. There seems to be a fair amount of info on the guy. He seemed to have a respectable following for early YouTube standards. Seems like his channel went defunct sometime after early 2011, which tracks with re-uploads of his videos dating back to as early as 2012. Heard some people say he was active as early as 2007, but oldest I can find is 2009. In 2014, he made a second account, seems to be him at least, and uploaded a few videos before disappearing again. There seems to be a total gap between then and 2017, where the oldest version of the deceased YouTubers list I could find. There are probably older versions, but they don't seem archived. Can find next to nothing on anyone named Kirk Willems. I searched the name on archive.org, and 2 websites came up. Skull MP3 seemed relevant, but I don't know how to search website archives to find more specific matches, but I doubt I'd find much there anyway. Aside from that, nothing. Don't want to dig too much deeper out of respect if he actually did pass away. Other users chimed in with their own memories of the channel, and they seem certain that this one, at least, was legitimate. None of them seem to have been able to come up with any information on whether the owner was deceased, but some stated they didn't want to dig too much out of respect in case he had truly passed. And aside from a link to the now defunct channel, the only other hits on the name now come from either this exact Reddit post or an 8-year-old post on a horror subreddit asking if anyone remembered him. One of the responses didn't provide any further information, but questioned the OP about some of their thought process. Okay, so pause right here. It appears this one is actually indeed a hoax, because looking at Dame's last upload, in the comments someone again claims that the creator is dead, to which another account actually responds saying that they're still alive, claiming to be Dame at Hook. And indeed, if you go to their channel, you will find some fairly recent scary story videos like the ones they did on their old channel with the same narration voice, so thankfully it looks like this guy is still alive and is on this new channel. One of the channels was marked as confirmed or legitimate, but the user seemed unable to find or replicate this information in their own search. So while there appears to be some admitted hoaxes included in the list, there are certainly some legitimate ones there. As the OP pointed out, the original wiki was deleted, but there doesn't appear to be any concrete information available on the other channels that were shown. Let us know if any of the outstanding names seem familiar to you, or was the whole wiki just an exercise in trolling with 1 or 2 legitimate channels sprinkled throughout it to make it seem more authentic? I guess only time will tell. Russian security camera channel. The next post is a little older, being posted about 2 years ago in the Internet Mystery subreddit by user Spam Meat Spray, where it received only a little attention. It is titled, quote, "Weird Russian channel with security camera footage of the channel's owner's stepdaughter posts long rants about eugenics and Russian real estate corruption in the description. Disappeared after making 3 videos called Putin Hitler's T4 Program in Action." The post reads, quote, "Hello, this post is about a YouTube channel named Vera Koroteva. It is a Russian channel showing security footage from the apartment of the owner's stepdaughter, Eleonora, from what I've gotten from online translations. She is apparently disabled, and the video descriptions often have lengthy rants about everything from eugenics to Russian real estate. The stepfather, Vera, largely uploads videos of men in his stepdaughter's house and descriptions calling them burglars, but from the videos they seem to just be hanging out with his daughter. That is hard to say though, they could be exploiting her in some way, but the fact that he is uploading all this footage of her is disturbing. Even more disturbing, the last 3 videos are all titled Putin Hitler's T4 Program in Action, with long videos of a camera pointing at the ground featuring who is presumably Vera arguing with someone. After this, the channel disappeared. With what I know about Russia, he could have gotten into a lot of trouble for these videos, although the fact that he had cameras all over his stepdaughter's apartment is very weird. Underneath, the OP included a link to the channel in question, which is still live as of the time of writing, but has not uploaded a new video in 4 years. Some of the videos are only a minute or 2 long, more around the hour mark, and at least one as long as 4 hours, and the overwhelming majority of them are this security camera footage. The channel's posted a truly staggering 1.4 thousand videos in the time it was active. The most popular has more than 250,000 views, so it isn't like there wasn't at least some interest in what he was posting. On the subreddit there were only 2 responses. The first, from user FTS69420, comes to the understandable conclusion that there is something a little off about the creator. Quote, "Honestly, it just seems like he has a mental illness. It reminds me of those people who claim to be targeted individuals. They often post conspiracy type stuff like this, referring to the Putin T4 program and eugenics thing. I'm going to make an assumption here. It's not a proven fact, but what I think is happening, especially in the last 3 videos, probably someone called CPS or the Russian equivalent of it because they were worried about the child, with the whole obsessive filming thing going on. The state taking away kids from mentally ill parents is a tragic thing that happens sometimes when they are deemed unable to continue caring for the child. I'm assuming he was talking to some kind of official in the last videos who wanted to take the child away. That would also explain why no new videos have come since." The only other comment was from user 412R, who tried to translate some portions of the descriptions and comments. Quote, "This seems to be an archive for the apartment building's security footage. I'll try to research this more and update, but it's all in Russian, so this might not be the most accurate explanation." Okay, so this is just too much stuff to look at. Many of these are mundane and the descriptions are just nonsensical. Some of them say no soap and talk about groceries / day-to-day stuff. This is all stuff translated through Google, so I might be way off. But the user might not be at the best state of mind. Ignoring the conspiracy theories, the comments occasionally ask, "What are you under?" or "What's wrong with you?" things like that, and I assume this means he's nuts. The videos of the girls seem to have the words infidel, scandals, and friends. One of them, for an example, is titled, "Found Friends Dogs Infidel Uses for Scandal." I think he might be talking about using the videos for a potential scandal. We need someone who speaks Russian because I don't understand anything said in the videos and the descriptions. The channel in question is still available if you want to see what it's all about for yourself. There's no denying that there is something creepy about it, least of all the sudden way that the videos stopped. Let us know what you think. Was this just an unstable man endlessly posting often inane security camera footage, or a worrying individual deep in an unhealthy obsession, and why did he go quiet all of a sudden? Creepy YouTube channel. The next entry comes courtesy of the Internet Mystery subreddit again, and was posted by user no_pay2356, with the title, "Weird YouTube channel filming sleeping woman through door. Her face is covered for some reason. The title should be enough to let you know what the subject matter is, but this is the post that he made. He opens with a link to the channel in question and then states the following, quote, "On this channel there are multiple strange videos and shorts showing a woman sleeping and even another person laying next to her in one video. I'm assuming the man filming is from Indonesia or Malaysia, because the title of these creepy videos means adult worker in Malay. The man seems to be filming through the keyhole of the door, and it seems like the woman is sensing his presence, considering her disturbed sleep and the fact that she wakes up during it multiple times. If anyone can find further information about this man and possibly inform local authorities, I would greatly appreciate it." The post got 118 upvotes and 22 comments, all universally agreeing that there was something extremely creepy about the whole thing. The OP would add an edit to their original post stating that they had made a report to the cyber tip line, but also discouraging users from reporting the channel. The reasons they gave were that they didn't think YouTube would act, and the channel being taken down might actually hinder any further gathering of information on the creator. User Picozy conducted some detective work and managed to shed some light on the videos, as well as sharing some possible clues. Quote, "The video title is in Indonesian. Tukang Kabel basically means pervert, so I guess he's aware of what he's doing. Based on his other videos, I think he lives in Medan, North Sumatra, and he works as a locksmith." Followed by, quote, "I tried to track the phone number and it belongs to someone named Martin, maybe his boss. It also reveals the address of his workplace. I'll see if I can report it to the authorities, but since I live in a different island, the best I can do is submit the information to the Cybercrime Police Department. Although knowing how Indo Police works, they probably won't take this case very seriously." Other users found more information in the comments, leading to a potential phone number and a license plate for a vehicle, leading to some hope that the uploader could be identified. Some pointed out the similarities to Mr. Sleepy People. Others, maybe hopefully, suggested it was a skit or an ARG. One thing that everyone agreed on in the comments was that it was extremely disturbing. User Tessa Mesa provides another possibility, one that is probably the least disturbing scenario. "This is creepy AF. It doesn't seem like an ARG or anything like that to me, so it seems possible that this is an actual random woman he's spying on. You mentioned the title of the video means adult worker. I guess one possibility is that he's into spying on women. Non-consensual voyeurism is definitely a fetish for lots of people, especially men, and paid this sex worker to pretend to not know he's there so he can fulfill his fantasy? That's just a guess though. It's hard to say what the final outcome of this one will be, but it's a sad state of affairs when the best we can hope for is that it is some consensual but creepy fetish fulfillment. Check it out at your own risk. Old GIF. User Octogin would hop onto the Internet Mysteries subreddit about a month ago to ask for help identifying an old GIF and creep out everyone who has autoplay on for Reddit in the process. The title was just, "What is the source of this old GIF I remember?" They claimed to have seen it on YouTube while looking at creepypastas, and the post itself contained the GIF, an image of a dark room with a face vibrating out of the gloom. Unsettling, no doubt, and certainly something that all the replies agreed with. Among the many people who stated it had freaked them out, there was a chain of people competing to find the earliest instance of it. U/ForestFluff has the top reply. Quote, "It's at least 9 years old, we know that much," linking to another post. It was used in a creepypasta called Don't Look at Mandu, but that was from 2018. It also, most likely, is an edited photo of one of these old Navy mannequins. Another user replied with a reference from 10 years ago, and a third provided a link to a 4chan post from 2011. They edited their own reply to cite a link from 2010. There are some downvoted suggestions, like a reference to the Jeff the Killer creepypasta or an artist called Trevor Henderson, since both aren't thought to be accurate. A comment by user Joe Ventil provided a link to a DeviantArt image by a user named X Bloody Nightmares X. Other than these replies of notes, there is no concrete evidence of a first date or validation of OP's belief that he first saw it in the early 2000s. If you happen to be able to place it, let us know in the comments below. Snapchat glitch. The final mystery for this entry comes courtesy of user Black Bendel and was posted to Internet Mysteries within the last few weeks. Quote, "Strange Snapchat location glitch. Shows up as a real place. Help unravel this mystery." Hey everyone, I came across something strange on Snapchat, and I think it might be right up the alley for internet mystery enthusiasts here. When I type in "this," roughly translates to "street naked you sit," it actually shows up as a location on Snapchat, as if it were a real place. But here's the twist. I tried similar phrases with ulika, street, and other random words, and nothing else triggers this. Only this exact phrase. I've tested with different structures and tones, trying to get Snapchat to recognize other weird phrases, but so far, this is the only one that works. It feels like an Easter egg, or maybe some strange glitch, or could it even be a hidden feature? Has anyone seen something like this before, or does anyone know if Snapchat has other hidden location tricks? I'd love to get to the bottom of this odd find. Any thoughts or ideas are more than welcome. Thanks for any help unraveling this little internet mystery. The accompanying image showed the various other word combinations that they tried, ones that didn't track to a place, as well as the one in question popping up as a location. Not all users were impressed. One criticized it as a horrible translation, which is hard to judge unless you speak Polish and English. Another used the post as a place to complain about the general downturn in the quality of the sub. Quote, "It's just a glitch. It happens always to me and my friends, though it's not a fucking mystery. You guys have ruined this subreddit by calling everything a mystery. Stop this bullshit." Another reply suggests that it might be a quote-unquote trap street. These are fake locations that are added to maps in order to catch out any who might try and rip off the original creator. If someone else produced a map that seemed too close to the original maker's work, the presence of this street that doesn't actually exist would be concrete proof that they had ripped off the creator. Exactly how that would work on Snapchat is not clear. One of the more interesting takes is from a cartographer, u/mapman. Quote, "So I'm a cartographer, and sometimes work on online locators. I assume this is using the Google Maps locator or a dataset derived from it. Google is an open-sourced mapping software, sorta, and anyone can add things to the map. You'll see this more often outside of population-dense areas, as they don't get a lot of attention or upkeep. I assume someone either pinned it and added it to the map as either a joke or to remind someone where they may have sat naked in the street, lol. And yeah, I could definitely see this being a possibility. I mean, we've had similar instances. Just go check out my Google Maps iceberg if you want to see more weird stuff like that. But anyway, back to the post. Quote, "The other theory is a developer added this to quote-unquote watermark his work. When I made MTMs, my coworker and I used to hide things within our contour lines. His watermark was a bunny, mine was a bird. That way if anyone tried to steal our work or take credit for it, we could look over and tell if it was actually ours by asking, 'Where's the bunny?' or 'Where's the bird?' Not a mystery. You just found something that probably wasn't meant to be seen by more than one or two people." While this might seem a bit more pedestrian than some of the others, there's no denying that it is odd that this one combination of words and no others activated the location pop-up. Whether it's a glitch or whether someone chose specifically to create and save it as a location option is hard to say for sure. Teddy creepypasta image. Recently, over the last few years, a lot of people have become interested in the origins of various iconic creepypasta images. Whether it be due to nostalgia or just general intrigue behind some of the more well-known, disturbing, and interesting images generally associated with some of the more popular stories, such as Jeff the Killer, Liars, Squidward's and others. Another one to add to that list is the creepypasta known as Teddy, one I remember personally hearing back in the day about a haunted teddy bear, sometimes, almost always associated with this mysterious and pretty creepy image. There has been interest in this case for years, at least since people became interested in the origins of the Jeff the Killer image, including on r/internet mysteries, where about a month ago, a user was able to make a pretty big break in the case, after not much was discovered for a few years. These are images of a duplicate bear, which were sent to the Reddit user Sayrozen. Someone was even able to recreate the pose and shot of the original image with the bear. On the bottom of the bear's feet also reads, Sandra Justice, 1984. Sandra Justice being an artist and doll maker responsible for these rare teddy bears, likely including the one seen in the infamous photo from Teddy. According to the user who acquired the bear and shared the images with the OP, they bought the bear at a thrift store in Fairmont, West Virginia, and since this post, even more similar bears have been discovered, such as this white one, all likely coming from the same artist. This was a huge find for the case, as we now know what kind of bear it was and who likely made it, and possibly the general area which it was made in or came from. However, we still don't know who the original poster of the first creepypasta image was, or where it came from as of now. All we have are these 2 additional images of the bear in question, which have been found. Ode to Mark Taylor. This is an incredibly strange and unnerving video, which, as best described by commenters on YouTube, is both kind of funny but also quite horrifying. This mysterious video was posted to the Internet Mysteries subreddit 2 months ago, but has been an internet oddity for years, as the video was uploaded on June 13th, 2013 by a user called Henry Howard. The video, entitled Ode to Mark Taylor, is dedicated to the fictional character of Mark Taylor, portrayed by Taryn Noah Smith, in the 90s sitcom Home Improvement. The show revolves around Tim Taylor and his family, including his youngest son, Mark Taylor, running a local home improvement show called Tool Time, with the show focusing a lot on Tim's family as well as his television career as a handyman, despite not being a very good one. The video in question begins with text reading, "Mark Taylor is real. I met him at a Tim Allen from Home Improvement show in New York City. I thought I loved him and he told me he is Mark Taylor. I can't find him, but I have a lot to say to him. I made this video and hope it finds its way to him. Never forget, Henry." Next we get this extremely strange and off-putting rant with expletives.
Ode to Mark Taylor. Thanks for leaving me stranded in New York City, you pompous, sucking, fucking hailing. I remember the things that you did. Oh yes, I remember. I remember the night I met you. I had come to fuck your father and ended up sucking your dick somehow. How did that happen? Oh right. We inhaled earthworm-sized lines of amphetamines and chased them down with the beers I pried from your cold, dead hands. The ones stolen from the boy you f***ed earlier that night, the cancer patient. The one whose drugs you so cleverly stole out of his bag while he was gone to the emergency room, you thirsty imbecile. I see everything. Boy, do I see everything.
So this strange video letter has the poster claiming they had relations with Mark Taylor, not the actor, but the actual character from Home Improvement.
So instead of the headliner, the most famous man in America, I end up his son, the little with eyeliner on, the one strumming his guitar in the smoke-filled rooms of the city, surrounded by little girl child fans, swollen thick in the thighs with emotion. My bad.
The odd tone of the person talking, as well as the fact that it is likely slowed down along with the very strange and creepy things being said, despite it coming off as somewhat comical, still makes the video quite unsettling to listen to, unless you do just in general interpret this as some sort of strange, absurdist comedic piece, which actually a lot of people did, but even so, this is still one of the strangest videos I've ever come across on YouTube, and it surprisingly hasn't gotten much attention at all, with only about 8,000 views, despite being uploaded over 10 years ago and being featured on r/Internet Mysteries.
Or maybe it wasn't the utterance of his name. Maybe, somehow, I had remembered you giving my baby sister, the juvenile, Xanax, and her the very same night I sucked your after the show, and I just want you to know that you can do anything you want, whenever you want to do it, but if you ever step foot near my side again, I will knife you where you stand, Mark Taylor, and that is a promise to you and anyone you may have ever made as miserable as you've ever been.
It seems the poster is writing some sort of letter, admitting to engaging in sexual acts with the character of Mark Taylor, despite being interested in the father, Tim Taylor, while going on to describe how Mark had sex with the user's sister and stole drugs from a cancer patient.
Mark, the thought of you a child hurts me, but more than that, the thought of you women at all disturbs me to no end. The thought of you possibly planting your swine seed into some innocent or not so innocent female who carries her bloody burden like a cross to bear for the sake of the reproduction of the species is almost enough to make me slit my own throat again. In what ways could
It's all very strange and almost unintelligible, especially with the way it's narrated. Still, there is no explanation behind the video. Whether you find it creepy and unnerving or somewhat comedic, it is the only upload on the Henry Howard channel and remains a mystery. No longer music. This post didn't get as much traction as a lot of the other mysteries covered on this list, most likely because there isn't much to be said about it, other than the fact that this is kind of random and a creepy thing to have happen while you're listening to music. For more context, this is the Internet Mysteries subreddit post. No Longer Music tried to play a corrupted video file on VLC Media Player, and this image pops in at random for a flicker when I repeatedly hit play. This is the image in question. The OP further writes, I tried to convert a video via VLC, but it didn't work right. Trying to click play does nothing. The video is shown as having no duration, with a file size of 160 bytes. When I try to play the video file by constantly clicking on play, this image pops in at random for just a flicker between clicks. I had to screen record to be able to take this screenshot. The reverse image search that I did came out with nothing. In the comments, one user explains a strange glitch that can happen with VLC Media Player, with videos and with music, that has happened to them before, of the software pulling a seemingly random image from their computer which displays instead of whatever you're trying to play. However, the OP replies that they didn't have this image anywhere on their desktop or PC to their knowledge, and have no idea where it came from, and didn't even know it was an album cover art, which is the actual origin of this image, as revealed by another commenter. According to Bandcamp, the album is called Primordial, and the artist is known as No Longer Music, with the album releasing on January 1st, 1999.
I don't want to be rude, but I feel a little creep. Gotta keep it dog.
Traumatizing educational video. Here we have another post from, you guessed it, r/Internet Mysteries, posted 2 months ago from a user called Webcops. It's titled, "Can you guys help me find this YouTube video I saw as a kid that traumatized me?" Quote, I remember when I was around maybe 3 or 4 years old, I was frequently watching YouTube videos on microscopic organisms, bacteria, viruses, cells, etc., because I was interested in that kind of stuff. I remember watching this one educational video that I guess somehow had to do with bacteria, and there was this one scene in the video that traumatized me so much. So basically, this man was outside and picked up a hose to use it. When he turned it on, he realized there was a kink in the hose, so water couldn't pass through it. He went to go fix it, and when he did fix it, the water came shooting out of the hose and hit him. When the water hit him, the skin started dissolving off of his body. All of the skin on him just started to dissolve when the water touched it. I vaguely remember this part of the scene when it showed the man's corpse on the ground with all of the skin and flesh off of his body, and he looked mangled and mutilated, and it showed a close-up shot of his head with his face completely melted off. This f***ed me up as a kid, and I don't know why it would be in a video about bacteria. I've always wanted to know what this video was because, like, what the f***? More info I vaguely remember about it. The dude was slightly obese. I think he was wearing a black tank top. The whole sequence happened in slow motion, filmed in a cinematic style. The thumbnail was, I think, a fake photo of bacteria close up. Purple, I think. So, looks like we got a piece of lost media here. This post got quite a bit of traction, leading to multiple suggestions in the comments. The top reply asked if it was possibly one of the deaths featured in the popular TV show 1000 Ways to Die, a series that showcases unique and shocking true stories behind strange deaths. However, the OP shoots down this suggestion, saying it wasn't a clip from this show. Another user replies saying that they never personally saw the video, but they remember another YouTuber talking about it, remembering it as a compilation of sorts, featuring various images and videos from educational sources that were put together to create an uncanny and creepy atmosphere, although the OP again is dismissive of this idea. Another comment brings up a science fiction show about bacteria and a section about nanobots, further clarifying it was an obscure show he saw on daytime TV, but again, this didn't really go anywhere. The only other suggestion is a comment asking if the OP is Portuguese, and if the segment had a woman touching a donut with a bacteria spreading, and after a man eats the donut, everything goes wrong, saying that the OP's description is similar to something they saw on Portuguese TV. However, none of these answers satisfied the original poster, and it seems this one remains no closer to being found. Ghost compilation. Everyone I'm sure remembers those old school ghost videos from back in the early days of YouTube, at least I do. I remember being so scared of those ghosts caught on tape jump scare type videos, and here I guess we got another very bizarre case involving one of these videos. Posted to r/internet mysteries by user routine_reference899, we have the title, "Weird video I saw as a kid in one of those ghost/cryptids caught on tape compilations." The post reads, quote, "So when I was about 8 or 9, I went through this ghost/cryptid caught on tape phase, and I vividly remember watching this compilation where one of the entries was captioned either Demon Kisses Woman or Demon Woman. The video was in a dashcam format and involved the woman being pinned against a car while a demon forcibly makes out with her as she struggles and tries to push him off. I didn't watch the whole thing though, as I got scared and I think ran out of the room. The demon itself looked like a stereotypical demon, horns, pointed chin. It was definitely not from Wreck, as even though it has a similar deleted scene, the demon and woman look distinctly different. Has anyone else seen this video or know what I'm talking about?" A commenter asked the user to clarify when they saw the video, which they say was around 2016 or 2017, and the video was maybe a few years older by their estimation. In the post itself, the user brings up the film Wreck, a 2007 found footage horror film which spawned a series of sequels and allegedly has a similar deleted scene, although the OP states that it wasn't what they remembered. Also, I've never seen the films, but it says they're supernatural zombie movies, and not about demonic possessions or anything like that. Another user writes, quote, "I've been seeing people say similar things as to what this post is recounting. I've seen similar videos. I think I was 4 to 6 years old, and it was 2013 or 2014. I used YouTube a lot as a little kid. I vividly remember watching a video of an alien and a woman making out, something weird like that. It wasn't an alien costume, it looked like a real alien. I've definitely watched similar videos as a kid. Where those videos are today and why they were created in the first place are questions that will always be in the back of my mind." The OP responded to this, saying that the demon looked very realistic and was possibly from some obscure fetish video, but beyond this there isn't really much else to go on. The user did add in the comments that they remembered the video had no commentary and just text with no audio, and was possibly in a top 15 or 20 list style format, but it seems this strange lost video remains unfound. The Sleeping Girl of Horselaugh.com. Now this is one of the biggest internet mysteries and rabbit holes of the recent months, even being covered in a deep dive by Scare Theater and Some Ordinary Gamers. About 2 months ago, again on Internet Mysteries, we got a pretty detailed post called The Sleeping Girl of Horselaugh.com, and along with a post on r/weird websites from around the same time, we have what sparked the initial curiosity into this mystery. This old website, Horselaugh.com, is an archive directory which contains several files and folders, some dated 2008 through the 2010s, and even a folder modified in December of 2024. The website remains up, but at the time of writing, all of the files have since been scrubbed. However, not only were people able to archive the contents of the site before they were removed, but many investigating the strange site went a step further, looking for archive captures of the site, dating back further through the Wayback Machine, which revealed even more odd videos. Taking a step back, the more mundane entries are various text documents about a family vacation from 2007, nothing too out of the ordinary at first glance, and another about a theory linking the bacteria H. pylori to autism spectrum disorder. However, the truly odd substance of the site are its videos, found in the archive folder 1417BR_orbs, which contained at one point quite a few videos, as they are all labeled with numbers, going all the way up to 49. The videos all contain the same thing, a person sleeping in a bed in a small room, with the timestamp dated 2023 in the bottom corner of the screen, with only occasions of a person peeking into the room and opening and closing the door. And there are even more deleted videos, which were found from going to earlier captures on the Wayback Machine. As you can imagine, people quickly got to investigating the site and the origins of the videos, given their creepy nature. They were able to find out that the site was created by a man named Dan Judd. Scare Theater was able to get into contact with him and even get a call with him, but unfortunately he wasn't able to record it and was instead just basically screamed at, according to him. After he hung up on him, he sent a cryptic and eerie email to Scare Theater, saying, quote, "If you've gotten this far, you might believe that there is much, much more to the story. There is. I suppose someone should probably know the story sooner or later, although they will almost certainly regret it once they've gotten it in its entirety. As they say, some things one cannot unlearn." This bizarre email genuinely sounds like someone trying to goad a YouTuber into investigating their ARG. However, as we'll find out, it appears this was not the case. Scare Theater was able to get into contact with Judd's stepson, who described more about the delusions of the man behind the site, as well as the true sad story behind the recordings. The girl in the bed is one of Judd's children, who is described as having the mind of a toddler and having frequent seizures, which is why they have a camera in her room to constantly monitor her and make sure she doesn't hurt herself. However, the reason he is posting the videos to his strange website is unknown, but likely ties into his theory that somehow H. pylori is responsible for the girl's autism. The man in the interview also explains how Judd was physically abusive towards him, causing him mental trauma. He also describes a very strange incident in which he asked a girl he liked if they could attend her church, which he did alongside his family, including Judd, who took a particular interest in Mormonism, and in fact, according to a forum post linked to Judd, converted to the Church of LDS. Judd would go on to have a delusion that he obtained the 116 missing pages from the Book of Mormon, and as if the story couldn't get any weirder, Judd also apparently had met Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, members of the Mormon Church that killed multiple people over the course of a few months in 2019, with all of them being close family members, including 2 of their own children, as well as Lori's previous husband, Charles Vallow, shooting and attempting to murder Lori's nephew-in-law, Brandon Boudreaux, and the murder of Chad's wife, Tammy Daybell. This whole thing is just an insane rabbit hole. He likely didn't have anything to do with those horrific murders, but it is still a strange coincidence. And from the videos, it's clear he's suffering from his own delusions, and it might be affecting his treatment of his own daughter, thanks to his strange beliefs which have been documented online through this archive. But why did he post these videos online? And why is it even called horselap.com? That, in and of itself, is another mystery. Home Invasion Image, 2013. Imagine seeing this while trying to open a movie on a very legal streaming site. What in the analog horror is this? According to the user, Low Quality Sample, this strange image was found on a movie pirating site associated with a specific film entitled Home Invasion from 2013. The OP looked into this bizarre and obscure film a little further and found the image along with the movie on several other streaming sites. This whole page is uncanny, the mostly blank background, the short overview, the very creepy Mandela effect-like image obviously, and the fact that it only has 1 rating with 9 stars and is only 2 minutes long. It looks like I'm about to open a snuff film or something. The summary only reads, quote, "An innocent man's life is plunged into chaos as a home invasion goes wrong." The OP further stated in a comment that he believed the image was heavily edited and was likely ripped from somewhere like IMDb, which has most well-known films on it, where you can read reviews and ratings for movies. However, after looking through, I can't seem to find this movie, not just because it's such a common name for a film, but also because this short film is just very obscure. Obviously, many people in the comments were intrigued, and it didn't take long for someone to find it. User Mystical Edgy posted a YouTube link to the film, and the movie is a lot less disturbing than one would think after seeing this cover image. We get that sweet royalty-free Kevin MacLeod music, while a man sleeps on his couch and is knocked out and tied up by a home invader. The guy manages to break free and get his phone to text his friend, and then... From here, they just keep on knocking each other out and tying each other up, until the friend comes over and they team up to take out the guy's friend, for whatever reason. The end. It's hilarious that this is just a little comedic film made by friends, when it's associated with this picture, which looks like it came directly from the Mandela catalog. But that still does leave the question, where did it come from? Reverse image searching it turned up nothing, so it's likely the image came from the original creators, or at least whoever posted it to a database like IMDb or MovieDB, which sites use to pull data from to post to their streaming sites, which is likely where the image came from. But what is it? Likely just a heavily edited image of one of their friends, or just some random person. Maybe these guys have a future in analog horror. Topless lady in Disney's The Rescuers. The last mystery here is another one that has been solved, but just so strange and interesting that I thought I had to include it anyway. Disney's The Rescuers is a 1977 classic animated adventure film about a young girl named Penny who's saved by Bernard and Bianca, two mice from a group called the Rescue Aid Society, or The Rescuers, alongside their flying companion Orville and their dragonfly friend Evinrude, all the while dealing with the kidnapper Madame Medusa. The film, like most of Disney's animated movies, especially from back then, is very kid-friendly, earning a G rating. There's nothing on the surface that would make you think this film has anything adult-oriented hidden inside it. That was until a strange detail about the home media release of the movie was given public attention when Disney recalled it in 1999. The reason? Because it contained a, quote, objectionable background image. It would turn out that around 38 minutes into the film, when the main characters are flying past an apartment building, for a few frames, for some reason, you can see a naked woman in a window, with her breasts exposed, in a Disney film. It is only visible for 2 frames, which explains why it wasn't known about for so long, but that still makes you wonder, why is this here and how? Who is the lady and where does this original image come from? This opened up a whole new can of worms in the lost media and internet mystery community. YouTuber Edache did a deep dive into the topic about a year ago, looking into this unsolved mystery. He brings up the time that Walt Disney allegedly spotted one frame of a naked woman that was in one of the films, placed there as a joke, similar to the Rescuers incident in question, so maybe this is a similar case, but it's debatable whether this situation even happened in the first place. But there's another confirmed case of hidden nudity in a Disney film. Although not quite the same situation, in the 1988 film, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, there is a scene of the character Jessica Rabbit being thrown from a car, with a frame showing something under her dress that isn't her underwear. This would of course later be censored after controversy, and I believe this was only in the Laserdisc release. Some think that this was actually just a coloring mistake rather than a short 2-frame instance of showing cartoon genitalia on screen in a Disney film. A background artist by the name of Annie Gunther was credited with painting the background with the woman in the window in The Rescuers, which was further backed up by another animator, Tom Cito. You might be led to believe, since this was her last project before being fired, along with the fact that she was passed up on for promotion for head of background, that this may have been an attempt to get back at Disney. However, Cito claims that this isn't the case and that it was simply a hidden joke, something that Cito claimed animators have been doing in cartoons since the 30s. But who is the actual woman? Because it's clearly not a drawing. It's definitely an image of a real person. Well, we still don't know. That's the mystery of it all. although it is theorized that Annie may have taken the image from a magazine. It appears it didn't come from any of the Playboy magazines which were around at the time, but the picture may have been taken from any number of pornographic magazines, or maybe didn't even come from a magazine at all. Maybe it was a snapshot of a scene from a porn film. To this day, we still don't know. But maybe with the amount of gooners out there, someone can figure it out. Just like we have with the Lost song, everyone knows that, also known as ulterior motives. It could be hidden in some vintage adult film, magazine, or photo shoot. So get to gooning, I guess. But only that old pre-77 stuff. And maybe someday this will be found. Lost Creepy PSA. Starting off today's list is an interesting and creepy lost PSA that was eventually found pretty quickly after this post was made on the r/lostmedia subreddit by user FireRateDragonGirl. The post is titled Ultra Creepy Black and White Anti-Smoking Commercial from around 2002 to 2004, featuring children running and realistic wheezing noises. The post itself reads, quote, "So basically, the ad begins with children running, perhaps a race, on a playground. The atmosphere has already set the creepy tone of what you're in for, as the film is black and white, blurry, in slow motion, and there's a children's choir vocalizing in the background. A flute plays along. As the kids run, the footage becomes more blurry as one boy lags behind and begins to cough, wheeze, and gasp for air. The sound is not like actor-ish stock audio wheezing. I'm talking genuine, must have been taken from a research facility, high-pitched stridor from a real kid suffering from breathing problems, like asthma or whooping cough. It really makes you feel like you're suffocating along with him. Then the narrator comes in. His deadpan tone further sets the creepy tone and is hard to describe. Sarcastic, blaming, I don't remember everything he says, but he says something to the effect of, kind of hard to keep up with the other kids when you've been smoking. Eventually the commercial ends, but not before the screen goes dark and you hear one final, amplified, echoing, labored gasp for air from the kid. As much as I hate PSAs with everything in me, I'm drawn to them. This one in particular I never wanted to see again, but seeing as how nobody has uploaded it anywhere and no news outlet seems to have reported anything about it, I feel obligated to ask around here. It was extremely creepy and ran for far too long in my opinion. Yes, it did run during Cartoon Channel commercial breaks, especially Nickelodeon. 7-year-old me was very relieved when it finally stopped airing, for good. From here we get a comment from another user called Maxium Sag, asking about the origins of the PSA. Quote, "Hi OP, are you from Minnesota by any chance? This sounds like an ad from the 2001 to 2002 Secondhand Smoke Awareness Campaign. Keep Up television ad shows a group of boys, approximately age 10, running in slow motion across a park. One of the boys slowly loses energy, begins to breathe heavily and falls behind the other boys. A voiceover states, "It's hard to keep up with the other kids when you've been smoking all your life." While the statistic is presented on screen, children of parents who smoke can inhale the equivalent of 102 packs of cigarettes by age 5. If I find any trace online, I'll edit this comment, but looks like the video itself is lost for now. The OP responded to this by thanking them for clearing up that it was part of the Secondhand Smoke Awareness Campaign of the early 2000s, but clarified that it wasn't in black and white. It wouldn't be much longer until another user named JoePick1 would post a YouTube link containing various commercials featured on KAPP and ABC from February 21st, 2004, one of which was the ad in question, as stated by the OP.
It's hard to keep up with the other kids when you've been smoking all your life.
Asuba Bawana. Another r/Lost Media Reddit post, this one is titled, Particularly Disturbing Asuba Bawana Video on YouTube. This YouTube search term is infamous for having extremely disturbing results, known for showing gore and other disgusting material. It was mostly a big thing like 5 years ago. Gooseboost made an entire video diving deep into this search term and the various disturbing results that can come from it, be it on Google or even just here on YouTube. Basically, it's some sort of Buddhist phrase or practice which involves reminding oneself that beauty only ever fades into decay and rot as a way of expelling lust and sexual urges. Hence, I guessed why there were playlists on YouTube of disturbing content, typically involving death in some way. Back to the Reddit post though, it describes a few videos they encountered under this disturbing search term. Quote, on the 19th of August 2010, the user Susila Kodawaye uploaded a video titled Asuba Bawana 1. The video was around 5 minutes in length, and it featured an unsettling thumbnail from the get-go, an image of a woman's bloodied face in the bloating stage of decomposition. When you clicked on the video, you'd be met with an image of the Indian actress Aishwarya Rai Bachchan from the 1999 film Hum Dil Di Chuke Sanam, with a very relaxing Bollywood song, presumably from the aforementioned film's OST, accompanying it in the background. This image would then slowly morph into various different images of lifeless human faces in various stages of decomposition, eventually ending with the image of a skeleton. The video was re-uploaded years later, on the 17th of July 2014, by the user Tissa Disanayaka, with the slightly different title of Asuba Bawana 2, and it gained a relatively higher view count than the original 2010 upload by Susila Kodawaye. Both of these videos remained on YouTube until circa 2020, when they were both taken down for violating the site's policies regarding graphic and violent content. As far as I know, a complete re-upload of this video does not seem to exist anywhere. It's not even on the Internet Archive or any similar media preserving site. This user in question referenced in this post, Susila Kodawaye, has many uploads seemingly related to Buddhism. Most seem like nothing out of the ordinary, with the reuse of thumbnails multiple times on different uploads, but 3 videos do stand out, especially this one, which looks to contain some kind of blood or gore, although it's kind of hard to make out from just the thumbnail. But once you actually start the video, the thumbnail becomes no secret, immediately showing you the mutilated remains of a cow, as well as the inside of a slaughterhouse, which I definitely can't show you here. However, the video described in the post has since been removed, as I couldn't find a video under that title which showed real human gore, thankfully. However, there was this Asuba Bawana 2 video, which doesn't contain any gore or anything really disturbing, instead showing the development of a fetus into a baby. On the other channel discussed in the post, Tissa Disanayaka, most of the Asuba Bawana content has likely been deleted, including the one referenced by the OP. However, one does remain, which shows various skin ailments and infections alongside some kind of Buddhist chant. Thankfully, I didn't have to subject myself to personally witnessing any gore in these videos, as most have been scrubbed from YouTube, although this wasn't the case many years ago, as clearly this search term has gained quite a bit of notoriety. That being said, you can probably still find some disturbing content under this term, Asuba Bawana, if you look hard enough, which I'll take a hard pass on personally, but feel free to look into it at your own discretion. Just don't say I didn't warn you. 666 Tubbo Rub. Here is a really interesting rabbit hole, again coming from the r/Internet Mysteries Reddit, from the user Marshall Marsman, under the post titled, My Terrifying Rabbit Hole of 666 Tubbo Rub and the International Corporation of Lost Structures. The post details the OP's encounter with a rather strange product that their mother gave them after experiencing intense itchiness on their hands. It is described as a vapor rub knockoff, some sort of topical ointment called Tubbo Rub, which strangely enough also had 666 printed on both the packaging and the case itself, which piqued the curiosity of the user and prompted an investigation into this brand. Looking up the product didn't prompt many results at all. However, by reverse image searching the only image of it that they could find online, they stumbled onto a strange page. This website, called SuzanneTraster.net, has a bizarre article said to be a part of the International Department of Local Aesthetics. The article is titled, The Satanic Packaging and Advertising Initiative, SPAI. It talks about a project under the branch of a group known by the acronym ICOLS, or ICOLS. Quote, the project was initially conceived by the Department of Global Disenchantment, and it used as its starting point a curious geographical fault line that runs up through Mexico through Arizona and then ends up in Dick Cheney's hometown. Dick Cheney, as you know, is also being investigated for some of his operations from when he was with Halliburton. Okay, so now this is the fault line. It's Route 666. The article further describes this elaborate 666 conspiracy. Quote, initially the Department of Global Disenchantment was going to try and expand the psychic geography, which is described by this route. It wanted to amplify the resonances and decided that the best way to do this was to provide conference facilities. So around about 1925 to 1930, Eichholz bought a chain of roadhouses that provided conference facilities to corporate America. Here's the 666 Motor Inn, which was one of the most popular meeting points for the boards of corporate America. Now this was fine as far as it went, but it was only affecting a minute part of the population, and that's really for serious alcoholic malfeasance to be generated. A new initiative was needed, and I think that my department, in which I am night manager, can take some credit for this, even though we were using technology that had been developed by the Department of Global Nostalgia. What we decided to do was to use disease as a vector, but not actually disease in the sense of crazies, but to use the cure of the disease as the vector, to try and disseminate the alcoholic malfeasance. And so we set up a small company not far out of Tucson, Arizona that started producing cough linctuses. It actually started around about 1910. We actually reversed time slightly in order to do this, and we took out advertising campaigns in all these local papers. You'll also notice by approximate placing of advertising material you have underneath it, start your own business. And I can tell you that in fact, WorldCom was set up with this alone, and through advertising, we managed to place 666 as the preferred cold cure of the population running along Route 666. We named this initiative the SPAI, the Satanic Packaging and Advertising Initiative, and I do think that in many ways, it speaks for itself. It speaks about the functions of a lot of Eichholz. I must say that at this point, the company was workshopped and further developed by the Department of Future Projections, and I would like to congratulate my colleagues on the excellent work that they did. Those at 666 managed to develop and penetrate the market to such an extent, we grabbed them young, as this advertising image indicates, that it survived from 1910 as the favored product, and there's nostalgia, which is informing the brand longevity, so this sort of brings it up to closer to the present day. And it is, I think, not just coincidence that Cheney was in the psychic area of this Eichholz project, that Enron used the conference facilities that Merrick, or rather the financial planner for Merrick, his family in fact, comes from the area where in fact Tubber Rub 666 was launched, and that Xerox, which has just been forced to at least take 5 years profits results, had a significant branch presence in the Tubber Rub catchment area as well. Now, built upon the excess of the 666 experiment, Eichholz has decided to diversify and also localize. We think that it's important that now that we have proven that we can profoundly corrupt corporate America, it may be time to bring the Eichholz approaches closer to home. Now, first we thought about a shipping line, but somehow that seemed to be too slow and probably not making enough inroads. And then we thought that given our need to downscale slightly, to cut back, that local broadcasting might be the way to go. And about 3 or 4 years ago, we set up 666 ABC Canberra, the broadcasting station, and I think you can see the direct result of this Eichholz project in our current government's refugee policies, and I think that this is something that Eichholz can claim as another significant intervention of the 666 undertaking, and we're sort of proud of it. Yeah, this is quite the rabbit hole as you can see, but obviously once you read this page, it's clear to see this is some kind of ARG, especially when you look further into the website as well as this Reddit post. The website belongs to a British artist named Suzanne Treister and contains her entire catalog of works and art projects, including public pieces and individual works, such as other interesting internet hoaxes, such as fictional video game stills from Amiga games, created in 1991 and 1992. Her bio describes her as having attended both St. Martin's School of Art as well as Chelsea School of Art and Design, both in London, and being a pioneer of the digital new media, an internet-based field of art starting back in the early 90s, creating virtual worlds and pieces of media with eccentric narratives and unconventional works through different mediums like the internet and other interactive technologies. Quote, her projects comprise fantastic reinterpretations of given taxonomies and histories that examine the existence of covert forces at work in the world, an ongoing focus of her work is the relationship between new technologies, society, alternative belief systems, and the potential futures of humanity. Digging a little more into the site, you can find an explanation behind the ICOLS organization of artists that this entire story is based around, the International Corporation of Lost Structures. The page reads, quote, "The International Corporation of Lost Structures, ICOLS, was founded in November 2000 by Suzanne Treister, joined shortly afterwards by Brania Iwanzak as co-director. ICOLS is an artist-driven, international cross-cultural collaborative organization whose growing number of members/contributors include artists, writers, filmmakers, scientists, poets, anthropologists, theorists, activists, art historians, and practitioners from various other disciplines. ICOLS has a central website, www.icols.org, where projects and activities are archived. ICOLS occupies an imaginary ninth-dimensional architectural space throughout which individual members' offices are located. ICOLS' physical manifestations and live events include launches, publications, installations, site-specific projects and interventions, workshops, and other activities. ICOLS is intended to be a creative international space which utilizes as a structural device the dominant contemporary model of the corporate structure. Within this structure, the department's titles, Department of Global Disenchantment, Department of Revolutionary Nostalgia, Department of Future Projections, Local Unit of Missing Links, Department of Global Nostalgia, International Department of Local Aesthetics, Department of Dislocated Memory, create context for analyses of history, the present day, and projections for the future. ICOLS' objectives are that through collaboration and members' involvement in their own explorative developing projects, the ICOLS model will become a fascinating conceptual and sometimes also humorous and beautiful investigation into and commentary upon our current positions in relation to history, culture, nostalgia, communications, and biotechnologies, global capitalism, aesthetics, ethics, belief systems, and revolution. It's a lot to chew on, I know. And in case you're wondering, I tried to check out the icols.org website, but it wouldn't load. There are some Wayback Machine archives, but it seems most of the important stuff related to this organization is archived on Suzanne Treister's website. So honestly, we're just left with more questions than answers here, especially when you look at the ICOLS News Events page, which lists multiple in-person meetings from the early 2000s, occasionally with pictures of members, as well as some emails between members that are seemingly nonsensical as far as I could tell. But that still doesn't really explain the medicine portion of it, as it clearly was a real over-the-counter product which the OP had used, and that's because it was actually a real product, and likely something that the artist latched onto, as a way of making an interesting and strange backstory behind it, which is of course not actually real. One commenter on the post describes the 666 label as a part of the Monticello Drug Company, which they used to sell cold medicines and cough syrups. The company was founded in Jacksonville, Florida, and this medicine would actually be archived in the AmericanHistory.edu website, which showcases a 666 cold preparation drug created in 1947. It's kind of unclear why 666 was chosen as the label name, but yeah, it was definitely a real thing. Although the original building that manufactured the products, which also had the infamous 666 logo, was eventually razed in the 80s. So what it seems like this is just an old brand of medicine that happened to have the name 666 for whatever reason attached to it, which gave a few artists, including Suzanne Treister, the idea to come up with an interesting and elaborate fake conspiracy theory surrounding the drug as part of an alternate reality narrative, a lot of which is archived on her site. Woke up to a black glove in the foyer. Quote, "I woke up to a black glove in my foyer. I woke up and went to turn on the lights. I found a black latex glove on the floor. I've never purchased latex gloves in my life. This is also a brand new apartment. However, the maintenance man uses black gloves. I'm concerned that he may have entered my apartment while I was asleep. He has a master key. Nothing is missing. What do you all think?" Almost immediately, this post shot up to the top of r/weird, getting over 37k upvotes and 6,000 comments. The OP included another picture showing the hallway leading up to their apartment. They also responded to people suggesting that they change the locks, which wouldn't work because they have a digital key fob. which really makes you wonder, how could someone get in? What were they doing there, and why leave the glove? I mean, it seems like it was placed there on purpose, just out in the open there. The OP claims they couldn't have dragged it in by accident, saying that they were home all day yesterday, which makes you wonder, why didn't they hear anyone if someone was there, unless it was while they were asleep? People started suggesting that they buy a security camera just in case, and another person even furthered the maintenance man theory, saying, quote, "Do you live in an apartment complex? Several years ago when I lived in one, we had a maintenance man who was doing things like this. He stole one of my bras, left a Bic lighter in my hallway, and an earring in my bathroom sink. He laid in another tenant's bed, and walked into another tenant's apartment while she was showering. Obviously he was a creep, but he was never caught, and our property manager refused to do anything about it. He was later fired, I think. In any case, f*** you, Barry." It is a truly chilling thing to think about. The idea that a stranger was in your home, especially when you might have been there too, and you would have had no clue had they not left behind this conspicuous piece of evidence, almost tauntingly. It all seems a little too strange. I'm not saying this person is lying by any means, but we can't ignore the possibility of this being a hoax. It's basically either that or they almost got robbed, and maybe the person heard that they were home and left as quick as they could, leaving evidence behind, or some maintenance person came in unannounced doing God knows what and left behind their glove, which you would think they would remember not to do, especially if they were doing something criminal or illegal. Or there is also the possibility, as many have suggested, that it could have been simply dragged in by the OP, by being stuck on their shoe or a piece of fabric or jacket Velcro or something. Either way, however you view this case, it's a very interesting read. It seems there was no follow-up post from the user, and the last thing they commented about the mystery was a follow-up to another user that described their own harrowing encounter with a home invader. The OP writes, quote, "I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm in my mid-20s, and I think I'm ready for something small for my protection. Not sure how long that process takes, but I did purchase pepper spray. I got a camera and a window alarm thing. Others recommended a door bar and a rubber wedge thing, so I can use all that. I also bagged the glove, and I'm going tomorrow to at least file a police report. My apartment manager is off at 5 p.m., so I'll go down to the lobby tomorrow morning to make a report as well. I was gone all day for work. The bad thing is, if something happens, I have to run the length of my hallway to get to the stairs/elevators. Hospital Aliens video. Here we have another Internet Mysteries post concerning an alleged disturbing video of a woman in a hospital with aliens. The user describes the unsolved mystery in their post. Quote, "Back when I was about 12 to 15, around 2015 to 2018, I was absolutely obsessed with those top 10 videos about paranormal topics. I watched these religiously for years, and most of the videos I don't even remember, or I've eventually rediscovered, but there's one clip that has really stuck out to me, even all these years later. The video was a CCTV recording of a hospital. I seem to recall it took place in China or Russia, may have been a live leak. The video was pretty low quality, but showed a door in this otherwise empty hospital hallway. Eventually a woman walks into frame, but she's accompanied by either one or two tall alien creatures. They were stretched out and lanky, looking somewhat feminine but not superhuman-like. I remember them towering over the woman, being at least twice her size. I can't remember what happened next, as it terrified younger me and I put the video down, so I didn't see the ending. I'm fairly positive that the video was from a Top 15s or Chills compilation, as these were channels I watched the most. It could have been from another channel, but I think that's less likely. Since these channels that compile these videos are from other channels, they were obviously not the source of the video originally. It's pretty difficult to look through old videos of Chills due to the sheer amount of content he used to pump out. Believe me, I've tried multiple times. If anyone knows the video I'm talking about, please let me know, as I'd like to finally relive this disturbing little bit of my childhood and have closure. Unfortunately, the comments on this post don't exactly give any additional insight as to where the video came from. One user suggests that the OP could contact Chills directly via his email, which they say is worth a shot, although they never followed up on this post, while another user chimes in saying that videos like these could have been deleted over the years due to changes in YouTube's guidelines. While another user says that a similar video was posted to one of the alien subreddits, either r/UFO or r/alien, about a month before this post, although they aren't able to actually find the post in question, but they do claim that they also saw the video and confirm its creepiness. But there really isn't much else to go on with this lost, strange alien video, as it, for now, remains unsolved. 2006 Volleyball Incident Image Origins. And for the last entry for this episode, we have a pretty well-known case with mysterious origins. The 2006 volleyball incident is an internet urban legend and hoax regarding a shooting that was said to have occurred at a high school volleyball game in Nebraska or South Dakota, in which upwards of 17 people were killed. The reason it doesn't appear in any news coverage and remains obscure is because, according to the legend, the incident was mysteriously covered up by the government for unknown reasons. This rumor started on 4chan, like most internet urban legends do, back in a post by an anonymous user in April of 2017 on a conspiracy theory discussion where they made a conspiracy chart including many well-known and some more obscure conspiracies, and among them was the first ever mention of the 2006 volleyball incident. The background behind the story about it being a mass shooting event at a volleyball game in South Dakota or Nebraska that killed 17 to 24 people was provided by the OP when users further inquired about the event. However, at this point, with no documentation to support its existence, it's clear it's a hoax and has been debunked quite a few times. But the mystery actually comes from these images associated with the rumor and their origins. These images showing a high school volleyball game with a date code of September 27th, 2006, as well as another allegedly of body bags inside the gym, are no doubt fake, but where did they come from? The first image is likely from a video taken of a volleyball game at Utica High School, thanks to the diligence of a Reddit commenter who noticed the similarities. Likely there are just a bunch of filters put over the image to make it seem like a VHS recording, which, like Scare Theater points out, wouldn't make a lot of sense in the year of 2006. I mean, this wasn't the dinosaur age or anything, we had actual digital cameras. And the rest of the images are pretty easily debunked by Scare Theater in his video on the topic, including these supposed body bags, which are likely just gym bags or something similar. However, it's still unclear who made these images, and exactly how, where they got the pictures from to start with, etc. It's possible they're just screen caps from videos taken from volleyball games at Utica High School. However, the video linked by the commenter who pointed out the video or photo was taken at this high school shows the game from a fixed camera angle way above the floor, unlike the image that looks like it was taken on the court. As for the other images, these, to be honest, just look like 3D renders, not even real shots of the gym floor, or at least were edited in post with a lot of processing and filters put over it. And with this last picture, I'm not entirely sure. It just seems like people laying on the gym floor, but it's kind of hard to tell. Journal found in the desert. For our first entry, we're headed over to the r/weird subreddit, where a user made a post about a journal that they had found in the desert. They included a photograph with the journal in their hand, with handwritten text still mainly legible on the final few pages. The original poster has since deleted their account. Here's a transcript of what was in the image provided, although some of the information had been redacted by the poster by blacking it out. Quote, "If you see this, you mean a lot to me. You've been a huge part of my life and experiences while in college. You've made most of my college amazing and memorable. You are much appreciated and loved by me. This is just a message for my passwords/electronics/people to contact." It then includes a list of contacts that the user had obscured. The final section states the following. Quote, 3 involved. Person 1, mom of child provoking incident. Person 2, confronting mom. Person 3, other member of person 2's party. While users were quick to agree that it was extremely odd, there was also speculation on exactly what it meant and who had written it. Indeed, much of the content and the tone seemed to imply that whoever the author was, they had little to no intention of ever making it back from wherever they were when they wrote it. This worrying tone was picked up by multiple of these subreddit users, with the most common comment being some variety of suggesting informing the authorities, and it is understandable why this is the case, as the note itself reads as an extremely final sort of statement, and not one made by someone who is in a good place mentally. Some suggested that the OP reach out to some of the contacts that were listed in the note, either to just let them know what they had found, or perhaps to provide them with some closure if the person who wrote the note was still missing and they had no idea what had happened to them. Some of the users also noted that the handwriting on the 2 pages appears to be different, at least at a cursory glance. For some of them, this only added to the creepiness, as they could not think of any rational reason for why 2 individuals would have been involved in the writing of the note, but others suggested that it was simply the same person writing in print and cursive. The top response, with nearly 2,500 upvotes, spoke about a recent case where a missing person's remains were found in the desert, specifically because someone found some of their belongings in a similar situation and alerted authorities. The OP would follow the advice given to them and reported it to the police. In a follow-up post, they included a photograph of authorities presumably collecting the notebook, and then a further screenshot. The OP managed to get in touch with one of the contacts that were provided in the original note and reached out to them. They would get a hold of the journal writer and provide OP with a screenshot that seemed to imply they were fine and well. When they are asked if it is theirs, they state, quote, "I think so, but you can toss/burn it. I don't need it." A surprisingly happy end for a very odd affair. Heartman Mystery. For our next entry, we're in the Internet Mystery subreddit and looking at a post by a user called CoolGuy10213. The main drive of their post is that they are trying to find the origin of an obscure image that they claim to have spotted popping up everywhere recently. They state that they even saw it in the intro of a video made by a YouTuber Blame It on Jorge. Another YouTuber called Virtual Carbon also made a video on it, going more in depth on the mystery behind it and trying to get to the bottom of it. There seems to be little accepted information on it other than the fact that it was probably taken in the 70s or 80s. The image in question is admittedly bizarre, showing a man in a costume that consists of almost entirely heart-shaped pieces stood in front of a couple of vehicles, which is probably where the rough dating comes from. Other than Virtual Carbon finding a photo of someone in a similar costume, there seemed to be little concrete information available. There were only 8 comments on the post, with the first being a link to the Virtual Carbon video. Within this video itself, it becomes clear that while the Heartman is certainly an obscure piece of media, there is a particularly odd reason for it. The lack of information available seems to have been a deliberate effort by a user that claimed they were an archivist that was protecting the source of the image. They stated, quote, "The point of the art piece was to have no context and explanation, thus I shall not tell you." Another post in the Where Is This subreddit from 9 months previously provided a little more context. This also included additional images from the same shoot, showing more of the location and of our Heartman being shown in various other places and engaging in different activities. Users identified the location as Ginza in Tokyo. By comparing information on the signs and vehicles in the background, users managed to pin the photo dates to either 1979, 81, 82, or 88, since these were the only years the particular production visible in a billboard in the background was being shown. Further analysis by comparing buildings and light posts between various years narrowed down the date to either 1981 or 1982. It appears to have been taken from a fashion magazine, and it was a form of a Japanese local hero. The user that had originally uploaded the image, going by the name of Docpile, moved on from his stance of not revealing any information and instead stated he would try and find out. It was a series of clippings from French and Japanese magazines. After the Virtual Carbon video was posted, Docpile responded to a user's question regarding the background info, claiming he hadn't had time to look into it. However, he would then post on his Instagram with a physical copy of the magazine and the following text, quote, "The internet is mad at me because I put these images online 6 years ago and didn't share its origin because I was doing this project where I was placing images online with no information, because that's just the annoying thing I was up to at the time. Anyway, now there's a YouTube video about how it's a piece of lost media, and there's a whole community trying to find its origin. Should I continue to gatekeep or spill the beans?" This final clue gave some more details about the Heartman, gleaned from the page that was shown, as well as some captions confirming that they had the correct location. It also showed that he was really called Tokyo Lonely Heart. And while there is still the exact magazine left to identify, despite Docpile's strange efforts to keep it all a secret, almost everything worthwhile about the Heartman has now become public knowledge. Weird experiences. Our next entry is from the r/weird subreddit again. The weirdest experience of my life just happened. In the post, they explained how they were stood on the deck at a beach house late at night with two others when they heard screaming. They noticed lights out in the water that seemed to be torches and flashlights, and saw someone dropping below the surface repeatedly while screaming variations of "help me." Surrounding this apparently drowning man were a group of others who were doing nothing to intervene. The OP ran down to the water and made their way towards the group, but was flatly ignored when they asked if there was any help needed. In fact, the whole group just ran out of the water past them without speaking. Another neighbor had come out by this point to see what was happening and try and help the apparently drowning man. One of the group told her, quote, "This is the Brotherhood, don't interfere." The OP and the rest of her group went back to the beach house and watched for a while as the group continued to do strange things, like run into the water, then out, then bury themselves in the sand and run back into the water. Their post to the subreddit was half trying to make sense of whatever it was they saw that night, and half out of concern for the person they heard apparently drowning. Despite the very odd and creepy undertones of the situation, users were quick to focus in on a couple of points that probably did a little to set the OP's mind at ease. The first was that the actions that the group were taking bore at least some resemblance to Special Forces training exercises. The extreme physical exertion, the water, the late night setup all seemed to closely match what units like that might do. Additionally, the top response pointed out, quote, "USAF Fire Protection Service out of Tyndall Air Force Base call themselves the Brotherhood. They're out of Panama City, Florida." This would not only cover why they were doing what they were doing, but also why they referred to themselves in the way that they did. Not that it makes it any less disturbing for the OP and the group that she was with. A comment by a now deleted account made a very good point. Quote, "That's so strange that they would belong to a real thing and not be able to effectively communicate that or give anyone nearby a heads up. Freaking people out and then saying, 'We're the Brotherhood, don't interfere,' instead of 'Please leave, this is a training exercise,' just makes it seem like they're a bunch of drunk dorks LARPing and you should interfere or one of them will drown." The OP clarified in a later comment that they had contacted local law enforcement, who didn't seem to take the whole thing very seriously, especially not since the entire group were running in and out of the ocean seemingly voluntarily. Other commenters mentioned that while it may share some attributes with special operations training, there is a chance that it was just people either cosplaying as them or amateurs that were trying to emulate it for some other reason. Either way, it seems that the OP was at least satisfied that no one was being actively drowned as the rest of the group watched on. But whether it is a satisfactory conclusion to their mystery is harder to say. Note under a panel. We're staying in r/weird for our next entry, where a user by the name of Issaquah Highlands posted about a strange note that they had found in their storage cabinet. They included a series of 3 images, with the first showing the note saying, "Don't look under the floor." The second image was a demonstration of where the note was located inside of the cabinet, and the third showed the flip side, which was a series of numbers, 29065300489382. And it is fair to say that even after the hive mind of Reddit had its chance with it, it didn't seem like the mystery was any clearer. One of the more common suggestions, and the one that the OP even hinted at themselves in the title, was that it was nothing more than a prank, or a troll, a random mysterious note that meant pretty much nothing, and was intended to simply confuse whoever found it. One of the funnier suggestions from a commenter was that if you indeed go against what the note had said and ripped out the floor, that you would only find a second note stating, "I told you not to look under the floor." Other suggestions for what the numbers could mean included a serial number of a firearm, a book in the Library of Congress, or perhaps the most obscure of all, a library card number. Multiple users made the same suggestion, with one even adding to it with the suggestion that under the floor will just be a raft of unreturned library books. Users also suggested that it could be coordinates, a security box code, or any number of other possibilities, but without any concrete solution, and with the OP stating that they would not be tearing the floor up, which received a number of downvotes. The most likely solution is that it was probably a troll all along, as the OP suggested, unless any of you have some novel suggestions for what these numbers might mean in this context. Let us know in the comments if you do. Dragon Ball Ultimate Lost Media. This one definitely caught my eye, being that I'm not only the Lost Media guy, but also a fan of Dragon Ball, and the fact that I somehow missed this when looking through the history of Lost Media with this franchise. Go check out the Lost Media of Dragon Ball after this if you're interested. Anyway, this post comes courtesy of r/Internet Mysteries by user DryJudgment7661, titled Supposed Dragon Ball Lost Media, Dragon Ball Ultimate, and the Mysterious User Behind the Claim. The user details some bizarre hoax behind Dragon Ball Ultimate, one of many alleged sequels to Dragon Ball taking place after GT, much like Dragon Ball AF. Keep in mind, this rabbit hole begins well before the likes of Dragon Ball Super's introduction, but spans over 2 decades. The post goes into the history of the user seemingly obsessed with finding this alleged lost piece of Dragon Ball media known as Dragon Ball Ultimate. Keep in mind, with this guy, we don't know if he's trolling or what, but he doesn't seem to be hurting anyone, so please don't bother this guy just because of this video. This post just seems to document the decades-long search this person has gone through in regards to a piece of Dragon Ball media which doesn't even exist, which all started when this user was in a store in New York City in the early 2000s, sometime between 2001 and 2003, and allegedly saw a clip from an unreleased Dragon Ball TV sequel that was never released. Obviously, this could have been a false memory and could have been some sort of Dragon Ball material which just hadn't yet aired in the West, like one of the old DBZ or OG Dragon Ball movies, or something like the obscure OVAs that just never got a dub or any sort of home media release. Or maybe this just never even happened at all. In a Dragon Ball Super discussion post from 2014 on the Kanzenshu forums, we see this person describing this Dragon Ball Ultimate show in depth, and it's quite a read. Quote, I was given the opportunity to read script of a series called Dragon Ball Ultimate a long time ago, which was in between the 100 years GT skipped by Toei, and it was an abandoned project, a good series, too bad because it was better than every Dragon Ball title to date, despite being associated with GT. Companies do things, they move on. Nobody outside will hear about a lot of things in the business industry. It will be out one day if current Dragon Ball, Super, Heroes, other related projects do well. They would want to cash out. Also learned that there were 5 specials planned for GT, but only 2 were animated, and only 1 was put on the market. I've seen both and read the rest. As for the GT scrapped specials, I doubt we will get those. Ultimate, on the other hand, they are interested, but even more interested in Super and Heroes. Ultimate is basically what GT should have been, but surpasses anything Dragon Ball in terms of action and strength. Story was a very good expansion and gave closure. The power and battles are nothing like the display of power normal DBZ has shown, and there is a SSJ6 level that can answer every level of power. They crossed that line literally. They stopped at 8, which was a true celestial, Heaven's Gate Saiyajin, cosmic. Yes, they fight in the same manner, but feels like DBZ meets Marvel, if you will. Fighting in core of planets, suns, supermassive black holes, solar systems, galaxies, universe, multiverse, omni. Power scaling is ridiculous, but the story was really good. That's not the focal point of the story, but only one aspect of it. There are no Dragon Balls once in the 3rd saga. Okay, I think you get the point. This is all just completely made up, and there are even more strange posts detailing this insane fanfiction. But why does this person have a history going back decades, diving into this non-existent piece of media? I mean, who knows? But I think this top comment on the Reddit post describing this entire history sums it up best. Quote, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, there were a lot of Dragon Ball hoaxes that surfaced on the heels of Z in the US. What it sounds like, in my personal opinion, is someone with unchecked mental illness fell for one of these hoaxes and became hyper-fixated on it to the point of creating an elaborate delusion around a series that he's convinced himself actually existed, even though it didn't. 20 years seems a little long for both an ARG and a hoax for laughs. Again, this guy seems entirely harmless, so please don't seek them out and bother them about this, but I do feel bad for him. It seems like he genuinely deluded himself into believing this Dragon Ball Ultimate show was real. How else could you keep up the same lie for 20 years? Either way, definitely an interesting rabbit hole as a Dragon Ball fan. Google Translate rabbit hole. For our next entry, we're back on r/weird, and this time looking at a recent post that blew up and became very visible across the rest of Reddit, gathering 8,000 upvotes. The post was a series of screenshots that the user took where they are using Google Translate's feature and have the source language set to French and the output language as traditional Chinese. Instead of typing in French, however, they have used Chinese characters in the source box, and it seemed to break the system in a disturbing way. For example, the first input is, "Can you take a picture for me?" in Chinese, but the output becomes, "The Chinese people are facing the danger of being killed." The next few prompts, written in Chinese characters rather than French, ask a number of follow-up questions, such as, "Are you serious?" and "Is this a distress signal?" with each generating an unrelated Chinese output. The post took off, with users trying out the process and getting their own strange and often creepy results. One translated the phrase, "I went to the store yesterday," from English to French to Chinese, then back to French, and the output became, "The Chinese people are in the process of being slaughtered." Multiple users attempted different variations, following various translation routes, and the languages that seem to be the cause of the error are French and Spanish being translated into Chinese. Almost all of these creepy errors appear in the Chinese language output model, and while the majority of the thread consists of users posting their own results and trying to generate similarly creepy outputs, there are some explanations offered by users. A user by the name of Chief Drinking Bear posted this comment that offered a proposed explanation. Quote, "Might have something to do with character encodings. UTF-8 uses variable width encoding, so more bytes for Chinese characters than Latin alphabet characters. So if the input is expecting French, but Chinese is input, it is possible that it is interpreting 3-byte Chinese characters as 3 individual 1-byte Latin characters. Still, if that were the case, I find it unlikely that the decomposed characters in Chinese would correspond to anything intelligible in French, unless the phrases were specifically chosen to exploit this. Just an idea. It is probably something else entirely, though." Another commenter noted that the translator uses an LLM, and when combined with these unexpected input characters, it may be the source of the bizarre outputs. Another user points out that as well as leveraging an LLM, there is a vast amount of user input data that is used by Google in their translation services, and that this has been something that people have abused for fun before. User Hey Vince states, quote, "People abuse this for fun quite a bit at this point. If they manage to do it with English, which likely has a humongous amount of input, putting the wrong input language would be a walk in the park, because you can basically decide from the get-go. There is a lot of error in putting the wrong language input to begin with, but as soon as it is public in any way, take it with a mountain of salt. Not an expert in any way, but I did some work as a freelance translator in the past, and actually used Google Tools for it. Not this basic one though. And while some error due to the unexpected input format, where it is expecting French lettering and receiving Chinese characters, with separate encoding, sounds like the most plausible explanation for this error, there is no doubt that this was one that left users scratching their heads for a while in the aftermath. Weird and disturbing YouTube video. Next, we're back to the Internet Mystery subreddit and a post made by CoolGuy10213 titled, "Weird and disturbing video I saw back then on YouTube, unable to find it." This is the same user who posted about the Heartman mystery we discussed prior, and the title is certainly accurate. In it, they describe a video that they stumbled across on YouTube sometime between 2017 and 2019 that they don't seem to have been able to find again since. There is a lot of filler description in the post around what they were searching at the time and the context in which they found it, but when it comes to describing exactly what was in the video, this is how they put it. Quote, "The video started off with a woman saying she is going to cover herself in Nutella and started to smirk a little and was standing next to a streetlight, and I think with a bush in front of a brick wall behind her, and she would run up to random people that came close to her, and she would say to lick the Nutella off her." After I saw that, I said, "What the fuck is this?" So I closed YouTube and went on to play a game. I was left extremely grossed out by the video. The only other information that they provide is that it has an eerie feeling to it. The location feels liminal to some degree, and they believe it had been fairly popular, garnering 250,000 views if they are remembering accurately. They also specify that they are not able to find it in their viewing history, since they didn't have an account at the time, and they have already checked the Internet Archive without success. And for every bit as strange as the video sounds, it didn't get much of a response on the subreddit. There were only 12 comments and 35 upvotes, with little in the way of solid leads. The top comment says it sounds like something Marina Abramovic would do, a Serbian artist most well known for her odd performance art, and almost certainly a joke suggestion in this case. None of the other comments gave any concrete leads, other than remembering other older channels with similar bizarre vibes. Searching for variations in the remembered title and the concept equally do not seem to bring up anything that would match what the OP seems to remember. While there are a surprising number of videos featuring people covering themselves in Nutella, none seem to be of the correct era or have the same vibe as the OP described. If you happen to remember something similar or a video that would match this description, let us know in the comments and maybe we can solve this one for the OP. Ear print on the window. We're back in the world of r/weird for our next entry, and this one certainly matches the theme of the sub very well. A user posted an image of the back door of their home with a clear ear print on the glass. As part of their title, they also included the probably sensible addition of, "I will be buying home security cameras immediately," and the post understandably blew up, with more than 5,500 comments and nearly 130,000 upvotes. The top responses were mainly a combination of users acknowledging that this was extremely creepy and scary, as well as the usual attempts at humor where users decided the image would make a good album cover. Some pointed out that ear prints are allegedly unique in the same way that fingerprints are, and that the OP should contact the authorities. The location of the print on the door does make it look as though whoever left it was listening at the window, possibly as they attempted to unlock the door, and the OP clarified that the print was indeed on the outside of the glass. The OP also stated that they found their car door open the same day that they found the ear print, leading to the whole situation being even more worrying for them and their family. The OP would post an update later to the same subreddit with the title, "Hello everyone, this is the ear window guy. Earlier I was playing with my 4-year-old son and noticed this. This time the image was not of the window, but of the tree line toward the edge of OP's property, where they could see a figure just visible, watching them." Especially given the attention that the initial post drew, and considering how strange the follow-up image was, this garnered similar amounts of attention. The top post was from a user asking what happened after the photograph was taken, and the OP replied with this, quote, "He stood still for about 2 minutes, then moved back to the left direction. No idea how long he'd been there watching. Police were called right after I took the pictures, while I maintained a visual on him." While there were some accusations of the post being faked, or the images being AI, the OP posted other shots of his backyard that matched both the initial earprint photograph and the tree line shot. In other comments, OP stated, quote, "For those suggesting, I have firearms. I'm also a combat vet. I have 2 small children, ages 4 and 1, so weapons are locked away. The earprint is on the outside, and also my car door was open when I went out there. Nothing disturbed inside the car though." And they would later confirm that they bought security cameras and had them connected to solar panels so that they wouldn't die. As far as what happened to ear window guy, the most that OP has stated was that the authorities dealt with it, and beyond that, they've posted no further updates, although they are active in other subs, so we can be sure that they and their family are still okay. Certainly one of the weirder posts to have come across. Unidentified South Park song. For our final entry today, we're in the r/Lost Media subreddit and looking at a post by user Spare Spam He. They were watching the South Park episode Cartoon Wars Part 2, and they were trying to track down a song that was playing in the background. Their description of it was, quote, "like a traditional song of Islamic, possibly wider Middle Eastern origin," and while they acknowledge that this is perhaps not the most high-stakes mystery of all time, they are curious about the origin and want to find where the sample came from. They seem confident that it was not something that was made by either the South Park or Comedy Central team, and suggest that it could have been from a stock CD or a royalty-free sample. And while there were only 10 comments made on the posts, almost every single one of them was substantial in some way. The top comment suggested putting it on Lost Wave in order to have it on the radars of users who specialize in finding lost music. The other comments are helpful to a degree, but the last comment from a user named difficultquiet7731 is where it seems to have come together. They point the OP towards a sample library named 0G Deepest India 1996 and ask them to look under the section titled Orchestra. There's a sample named Mumbai 02 that matches the track OP is looking for. They also provide the link from the archive to the OP to check for themselves. While all the major elements from the track are there, they are chopped up, and there is a question on whether this was stripped from a different original track or if these samples are what was used to make the South Park track. Either way, the OP seems satisfied enough that this could well be the source for their mystery song. Chul Jin Kim. 2 months ago, in a post on r/internet mysteries, a user named Current Convulsive wrote about a mysterious individual who left a strange note on the front door of a restaurant. Attached is an image of the note, reading, quote, God/gods and or anyone else who can help me, e.g. time travelers or members of super intelligent alien civilization, the next time I wake up, please, change my physical form to that of Finn McMillan, formerly of South New Brighton at 8 years old, and keep it that way forever. I'm so sick of this chubby, balding Asian man body. Thank you. Chul Jin Kim, aka A Desperate Soul. This strange post is only the beginning of the rabbit hole, as by delving into the comments you can find another post from 2020 on r/internet mysteries about the same individual leaving cryptic and bizarre messages. The OP references the same copy and pasted message he saw on an r/change my view post, which led them down a rabbit hole of looking into this person and their bizarre history of posting throughout the internet. A website at some point existed called chaljin.com, although at this point the page no longer functions. There are also plenty of Reddit posts allegedly from this guy, Chul Jin Kim. Although his account has since been deleted, some of the posts still survive, such as this one found in r/no stupid questions. It reads, quote, a request for transferal of omnipotence, or the prayer to end all prayers, by CJ Kim. Dear God, I did not think it would have to come to this. I have been praying to you since the early 2010s, and yet nothing has happened. A handful of people have won the Powerball lottery, but much to my chagrin, I was not one of these. Nobody, at least to my knowledge, has become 8-year-old Finn McMillan, and nobody, again at least to my knowledge, has been transported back to December 2009. In other words, you have ignored every one of my prayers. He goes on to express his irritation and anger with God, citing an incident in December of 2019 on White Island where a volcano erupted and left 21 people dead. He further states, quote, Deism is the belief that God created the universe, but does not actively interfere with it. I do not profess a belief in deism, yet. However, your actions, or lack thereof, over the past few years is starting to make arguments look rather attractive right now. My understanding of the Bible is that you chose to actively interfere with the lives of the ancient Semitic and Hamitic peoples who lived in centuries past, so why have you changed your mind now? If you're reading this God, and if you are omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient, then I assume you are, then here is my offer to you. If you no longer desire to preside over your creations and wish to pass on the responsibility of omnipotence to someone else, then let me be the first to step up to this role. Hand over to me thy torch of omnipotence, and I shall take care of thy creations. Give me providence over every creature that creepeth upon the earth, over the fowl that flieth in the heavens, of beasts which cometh in kinds most splendid and wondrous, and of course, over that of man, and I will wipe the tears from his eyes, and tend to his wounds, and above all, I will ensure that his prayers will no longer go unanswered. Thank you, Chul Jin Kim. It's clear this person is, or at least was, pretty devoutly religious, and despite the writing coming off as quite verbose and sort of chaotic, it's clear he at least has some understanding of what he's saying, although he's very clearly stuck in a series of delusions, as you'll soon see. At the beginning of the post, he again references the fact that he wants to be reborn again as an 8-year-old, specifically in the body of a boy named Finn McMillan. Unfortunately, this isn't an uncommon obsession among mentally ill people on the internet, but usually it's tied to celebrities or famous people that they have some sort of parasocial relationship with. However, this doesn't seem to be the case, as searching for Finn McMillan online doesn't turn up much results because he's not an actor or a famous artist. An article from 2011 does describe the child in question, a then 8-year-old boy named Finn McMillan from New Zealand who caught an earthquake on camera. This is not a very well known or publicized event though, and the article only comes with one picture of the boy. However, another image of the boy can be found on a website called orangesocks.com, an organization dedicated to helping families with children with disabilities. And throughout the site, you will find many inspiring stories and real kids and their families, but also among them is the story of Chal Jin, dated December 23rd, 2023. Included is a picture of Finn McMillan and the same message he's been spamming throughout the internet for years. And this is far from where it ends. On r/New Zealand, another post shows someone receiving in their mailbox a letter with the same message from Chal Jin Kim. Someone else in the comments even confirms they received it as well. It's pretty clear at this point, Kim is way too dedicated to just be a troll. But where it really gets weird, if it wasn't strange enough already, is on the Bitcoin forum website called bitcointalk.org, where a giveaway was being hosted for winnings of up to $3.2 million for inactive accounts. The post reads, quote, "Every Wednesday and Saturday I will purchase a ticket in the Powerball draw. If I win the top prize in the Powerball draw, 10% of the winnings will be allocated to accounts displaying the signature. The Powerball prize begins at $2.6 million and can jackpot all the way up to $32 million. So if you're the only person with the signature, then you could make up to $3.2 million for doing absolutely nothing. If there are 2 accounts with the signature and one of them is yours, then you could make up to $1.6 million, and so on." It's a very weird post considering the odds of winning the Powerball grand prize are next to nothing. The code just beneath this though is where it gets really weird. Quote, "Dear God/gods and or members of super intelligent alien civilizations, please let Chal Jin Kim win the New Zealand Powerball jackpot. He will use the money to set up his own research lab and find the cures for cancer and aging. He will release the cures into the public domain, a la Jonas Salk. Everyone regardless of wealth will no longer need to suffer. Childhood cancer will also be history. Thank you, a faithful believer. P.S. If anyone is reading this, then please pray with me." There's also the fact that this was posted by a user named Mount Gox, curiously also the name of a Japanese Bitcoin exchange which filed for bankruptcy in 2014. The message again shows how clearly mentally ill this person truly is, but it's also hard not to feel bad for them as well. This one doesn't even mention the kid and rather focuses on him winning the Powerball in order to fund cancer research, again also reaffirming their connection to New Zealand. There are countless other forum and blog posts you can find by just searching up this message online. It's all over the internet, so I'm sure there's many more instances even I didn't come across. One of the more interesting discoveries made in one of the Reddit posts though is a link to an article of a man confetti bombing toilets at Otago University located in Dunedin, New Zealand. The article was written in 2013 and the then 21-year-old Chal Jin Stephen Kim admitted to the crime. Could this be the same guy? Crazy enough, it seems that this person actually responded to this Reddit post and left a very long comment saying, quote, "I am not a troll. I find it sad to think that people think I am a troll. I've been banned from numerous communities in the past, all under the mistaken assumption that I'm some sort of bizarre troll trying to stir up trouble, but I am not such a person. You see, I had dreams of becoming a biochemist. I wanted to work on curing cancer and aging. I wanted to be the guy in the white lab coat holding a pipette in his hand while loading buffer solutions into the gel electrophoresis tanks. I wanted to wake up every morning knowing that each day spent at the lab would be one more step towards freeing man from the confines of his biology, but in 2013, my dreams were cruelly snatched away from me by the University of Otago administration. So I moved on to plan B, which was to win the Powerball jackpot with the help of God, so that I can become a gentleman scientist and build my own lab and thus pursue my dreams outside of, but in parallel with, the traditional academic system. I had earlier bought my first lottery ticket in June 2011 when the jackpot was a must-be-won $35 million, which ended up being a dud, but now that I had been kicked out of college, my efforts went into overdrive. I was buying lotto tickets left, right, and center, yet fast forward to 2021, and every ticket for the past 10 years has resulted in a dud. I also prayed to God to be sent back to 2009 so that I can purchase Bitcoin at a few cents each, or mine my own, and in effect get the same result as a lottery win. But every time I woke up, I would find myself in the then present year. In other words, despite all of my efforts, there has been no response from God. So I decided I had enough and crafted my request for transferal of omnipotence, which is an offer that still remains open to this day. God, if you are reading this, then please reconsider it. I believe that God is doing a terrible job at being God, and I would like to step up to the role of becoming God. Unlike the modern God, I would not be an absentee God. Instead, I would be proactive in ensuring the happiness and healthiness of mankind and all the creatures of the world. Given that rates of religiosity are declining throughout the Western world, and more people are turning towards atheism, it's obvious that God's current approach is not working. In fact, God had the chance to create a renaissance of Christendom that was practically given to him on a silver platter by simply waking Olive Elaine Haley Genthal in late 2019, but he fucked that one up too, just like the way he fucked up all of my prayers. Currently, I'm working on attempts to communicate with God via electromagnetic means. According to Eric von Daniken, God isn't actually God, but instead an extraterrestrial with godlike powers. Cue Arthur C. Clarke's quote about a sufficiently advanced technology being indistinguishable from magic, while von Daniken posits rather stable extraterrestrial civilizations technology-wise. I believe that post-singularitarian alien civilizations have access to time travel, and thus nearly unlimited computing power, and as a result live in a state where technological progress is measured in literal picoseconds. However, our universe is set up in a way that, according to Einstein's theory of relativity, both having mass and velocity result in a sort of minuscule time dilation effect, which would put any rebellious components of these super-intelligent alien civilizations that attempted to make their presence known in our universe at a significant competitive disadvantage. This is also my personal explanation for the Fermi paradox. Thus, my hope is that any post-singularity in God has not fallen into this trap, and he is somewhere out there listening to us. Because of this, I am researching Stephen M. Greer's CE5 protocols, which might be helpful for communicating with such a God. There are also philosophers like Carl Sagan and Terry Davis who have proposed the mind of God might be ascertained by exploring the nature of entropy, such as the kind found in the digits of pi, or from random number generators. Finally, there is also the simulation hypothesis to consider. The idea is pretty straightforward. Basically, if you're playing a game of The Sims and one of your Sims is constantly bugging you with messages about something that they want done, then there's a chance that you might eventually relent and respond. Even if you normally follow a pretty neglectful style of gameplay, eventually one of those messages could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Likewise, eventually one of my prayers could be the straw that breaks God's back. By proliferating these prayers into our cosmos, I hope to become that sim that changed God's mind. So anyway, I hope this explanation is enough to solve this mystery and show that I'm not a troll. I can understand why bumping into one of my prayers without the context behind it might give the impression that I'm trolling though, so apologies for that. After reading that extremely elaborate response, the guy is clearly insane yet still sort of articulate, as you can see, and I'm not sure if I should feel bad for this guy being stuck in an endless cycle of delusions, or if this guy has been trolling people like this for a decade and kept up the act all this time. Either way though, this guy is clearly mentally unwell, no matter which way you slice it. Interestingly enough though, even the kid in question, who has since grown up, saw the Reddit post deep diving into this mystery and said, quote, "Lamau, this is a post about me at 8 years old. No way, Omega lol. Trust me homie, you don't want to be me." Now of course I'm not sure if this is actually him, but either way this whole story is an absolutely insane rabbit hole that is nowhere near fully investigated, so if you're looking for an internet mystery to sink your teeth into for hours, then I guess look no further. Cooper family photo. The Cooper family photo is one of the most infamous cursed images on the internet, said to have been taken in the 50s of a normal Texas family, only for the picture to be developed and reveal a disturbing secret, what looks to be a ghost, or a falling body in the background, taking up a decent amount of the frame. None of the other family photos contained this figure, only this one peculiar image, with seemingly no explanation as to its existence, hence why it became popular as a creepy and cursed image on the internet. The most popular theory behind it was that it was an example of double exposure, a phenomenon that can occur when developing photographs, layering two images on top of one another to combine them into a single image. This could happen by accident, during development, or sometimes even happen because of the camera, or could be done manually when using darkrooms to process the pictures. Darkrooms were the standard practice for developing photographic film, a literal dark room with very little light, where the photos were processed using chemical baths and a device known as an enlarger to produce the prints. Obviously, there was no Photoshop or way to digitally alter the photos, so they could only be changed using this technique or something similar. If you flip the picture around, it makes the figure look less like a falling corpse and more like a dancer possibly striking a pose. This Reddit post containing the image also links to a video created by channel Jeffiet in May of 2025, which deep dives into the mystery behind this photograph and solves the entire thing. And the story is pretty crazy, so if you're interested in the whole saga, I definitely recommend it. It's a great video. But basically, one of the children in this photograph, and a member of the family, Richard Ramsdell, or Cooper, is actually the one responsible for this, and is still alive today, even giving an interview where he provides proof of the original image. He created it as part of a series of pictures in 1981, and even hosted them on his own website in the early 2000s, right there for anyone to see. And yet this story for a long time still went unheard. In the same interview, he described how he made the photo in question. He took the family photograph on a slide and projected it onto a screen, and set up a camera on a timer, flipped the image upside down, and stood in front of it while the camera took a picture, meaning this person is also Richard. So yeah, case closed on this one, but still a pretty interesting internet mystery for sure. Grog Martin. This case doesn't exactly have a neat answer at the end. In yet another internet mystery subreddit post, we have the title, "Weird YouTube channel I found looking at another subreddit earlier today." The channel in question is called Grog Martin. It has no description and was created in January of 2013, with over 3,000 videos amassed and a little over 56,000 views total as of making this video. The channel uploads are seemingly nonsensical and completely random, with the latest upload being from a month ago, posted June 22nd, 2025, titled, "Quantum Circle Jumping is Real, War Toy Captain Slam Punk Said So." The video itself just consists of pretty normal backgrounds of nature, accompanied by strange and pretty creepy background music. Despite most of the titles and videos themselves being indecipherable, the thumbnails are quite creepy in a lot of the uploads, depicting strange masks, puppets, and what looks to be child drawings, or this weird map depicting a mountain of death, as well as other surrounding landmarks. Click on any random video and most will consist of the same nature shots, accompanied by eerie background music and cryptic imagery. The usual when it comes to YouTube ARGs, but if this is indeed some sort of art project or something, I'm finding it difficult to understand or follow, given the sheer amount of uploads and just how obscure and weird this channel is. The most popular upload on the channel is one of its most unnerving in my opinion, depicting someone moving around these strange masks, as well as a guitar, while the creepy music starts to build in the background. If anyone has any explanation behind this channel, I would love to hear it, and if you want to be unnerved at night, just click on any random video. It's mostly the music, to be honest, but something about these videos is just really unsettling. Jackson Gillette. Another r/internet mysteries post here, titled, "Something Creepy I Rediscovered on YouTube After Being Haunted by It for 8 Years. They describe a channel called Jackson Galette and a specific video called I Want Dat Meatball. Quote, "The beginning of the video is of a clip which I presume is of a cartoon which was a meme around the time the video was posted, 2012, of a cat trying to steal a meatball from a smaller cat. After this sequence, a man holding some paper up to his face with the larger cat drawn on, eating a meatball through it and repeating the dialogue in the cartoon, I want that meatball. The last clip is of a naked man in a pig mask covering his crown jewels in the fetal position with children's laughter in the background. In the description, the poster states he isn't any of the people in the video, has a link to some defunct SciTube account. The rest of his content is some old movie/series that I don't recognize. According to the comments, it's been posted on r/cursed videos before, and they claim it's a fetish video, but I wanted to see if anyone has any other ideas, or worryingly can identify the clips. Unlike most creepy YouTube channels, this channel only has a couple of videos, 4 in total actually. The first 3 are simply TV show or movie clips, while the video in question is the final upload, dated March 29, 2012. The video, as described in the post, shows a cartoon clip of a cat trying to take a meatball from a smaller cat, before abruptly cutting to a man wearing a cat mask drawn onto paper towels or toilet paper or something that covers his face as he eats a meatball, before again cutting to footage of a naked man in a pig mask, accompanied by the laughter of children as he crawls around. I really have no explanation for this video at all. I'm not even sure what the cartoon was at the beginning. Let me know if you know anything else about these clips seen in this video, or what they might mean. Soda black and white color commercial. On r/Lost Media, we have a post titled Fully Lost, 1967 to 1968, squirt soda commercial that supposedly displayed color on black and white TVs. The post goes on to describe this lost commercial and links to another forum post mentioning it. Quote, "One day a Sprite commercial," he means squirt but it's rather easy to mix up green sodas, came on and the voiceover said something to the effect of, "Sprite is so bursting with flavor that you're probably seeing color on your black and white TV." I remember scrambling over to the TV and sure enough, there was a static image of a Sprite bottle and it was kind of in color. They also link an attached image of what the soda actually looked like, and again quotes from the forum post, which itself references a newspaper article about the commercial and how it managed to display color on black and white TVs. Quote, "The burst of color was not living color, as NBC frequently touted in the 1960s, but something called subjective color. The process was developed by James F. Butterfield of ColorTel, a corporation founded in Los Angeles in early 1966. It gave the illusion of color by pulsating white light in a particular sequence for each color with a rotating device attached to a regular black and white TV camera lens. Butterfield had found in his many years of research that the human brain perceives colors through complex electronic codes. Butterfield was able to figure out the individual codes for the colors red, green, and blue, and by pulsating white light in predetermined patterns with the device on the camera lens, can induce the brain of the television viewer to perceive color. Beyond that, ordinary monochrome equipment could be used in filming or taping, broadcasting, and viewing. There were a few drawbacks. The images were nothing at all like true color TV. It didn't have the intensity or range of colors. As the technology currently stood, the effect could only be used on still images. The subjective color could only be seen in about 1/4 of the TV screen area, and because it relied on flickering light, there was a lot of flickering. It was also found that some people could not perceive the colors at all, yet some people diagnosed as colorblind could actually see the colors. Nonetheless, Popular Science in its August 1968 issue saw many possibilities for the technology, particularly for special effects. Color will appear in cartoons, commercials, and special presentations. Polka dots on a clown suit will be seen as flashing red dots. You'll see the designs and lettering on a cereal box in pulsating green and blue. A girl will plant a kiss on a boy's cheek, and a red lipstick print will appear on your screen. Whatever the case may be, in terms of how they were able to actually achieve the effect, it seems the commercial today is completely lost. Some did point out that maybe it couldn't have been archived with the effect intact because of the way the process was described in the article, but that doesn't appear to be the case entirely, as this did actually happen in a 1968 broadcast from the BBC, which managed to show color on black and white TVs, but this could also have been done in a different manner. Definitely still an interesting lost media mystery, for sure. Blue Whale Challenge. Our final topic may be the darkest one on this list. I'm sure many of you remember hearing about this many years ago. I remember kids in high school bringing this up and watching old scare theater videos about this phenomenon, but what really was it? This post also seeks to ask that question. Quote, does anyone have any no bullshit info about the Blue Whale Challenge in the mid-2000s? I got a reminder about it today and I'm kinda interested. Well, it's a simple question really, I just want to understand more about it, although it's hardly seen as so many people just chat shit about an urban legend like this, but I'm interested to see what some people know about it. When I first heard about it, I was really young, and it was more of a, oh, I heard this story, and what I remember was that it was like a 30-day game, and every day you would get a challenge slowly getting worse. I was told that on the last day, you had to cut yourself in the shape of a blue whale, and that cutting yourself in the shape of a whale just kills you in like 10 minutes. I was also informed that the people running it would take pictures of you and your family, and threaten you, etc. It's quite weird looking back on it because I was scared shitless when I heard this, as I was pretty young. Sort of the same situation for me, although I never heard about this, like, cutting a whale into yourself thing. But I do remember, I think back in 2016, hearing about this, when it became a popular topic on social media, an alleged game that was being played all around the world, on different social media platforms where people would be subjected to tasks that slowly got more and more disturbing over time, involving more self-harm, until eventually ending in suicide over a 50-day period. It even received mainstream news coverage due to so many people talking about it, with a Russian newspaper even linking the game to actual deaths and suicides of children, reporting over 130 deaths linked to the game, causing sort of a mass public uproar, similar to the Momo phenomenon around the same time. Despite being such a serious topic, it seems it originally started as a hoax, another large-scale moral panic, but became somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy, getting so much coverage and internet infamy that it did actually lead to real cases of self-harm and suicides all over the world, although it's hard to verifiably link all of them. Multiple arrests were also made in Russia of men creating these so-called blue whale groups online, even one guy who claimed to have created the game back in 2016 by the name of Philip Budeikin. It's hard to really know the true extent of the damage caused by this game, as there are a lot of articles with misinformation on the topic, and again it's hard to directly link victims to this game, regardless of if it started as a sensational hoax or not. With a lot of widespread intentional reporting, some of dubious veracity, it's hard to discern fact from fiction, and even Snopes lists the Blue Whale suicide game under unproven. Either way, it's definitely an interesting internet rabbit hole in its own regard. Instagram Gravedigger. We start off this volume with a post on r/internet mysteries from user okfaithlessness4715 titled, ominously, Instagram user posting videos ripping open caskets and showing off the remains of the dead. Quote, I was not sure where to post this to, but when I saw this pop up on my feed, I knew this had to be seen outside of the small bubble this content exists in. The man behind the account claims to be a gravedigger of some sort. While there is a cultural barrier that can't be ignored, since he's from a Spanish-speaking country with different practices presumably, I can't see how this is seen as okay. He's seen ripping open protective layers of the caskets he's removed, throwing entire corpses into trash piles, and standing on top of partially uncovered bodies, all while filming it and posting it to Instagram. I'm not sure what to make of this, but exploring his account is one hell of a trip. We can see in the images provided a man clearly digging up graves and even opening up coffins to reveal skeletons inside. The account name is Wellington Jose, and his description in Portuguese, but translated, states that he works at a cemetery as a gravedigger. Now, I don't know a whole lot about how cemeteries work, but I've never heard of them hiring someone to dig up people's already buried remains, especially this frequently. There are countless videos and images of him doing it and flaunting it on Instagram for all the world to see. But as pointed out by the comments, there is likely a reason for this, and he is in fact probably just doing his job, as macabre as it may be. This commenter points out that in some South American countries, people have to rent their space for relatives in cemeteries, and these burials are not actually permanent, instead giving them leases on renting the land, common in places like Brazil, where the official and most spoken language is Portuguese. It sounds very morbid and kind of dystopian, but apparently this is how it works, with these burials usually only lasting a few years before the remains are extracted from the grave to be placed somewhere else. This sentiment was agreed by another comment who stated that the man replied to someone on his Instagram asking about why he was digging up people's graves, to which he stated that it was because they were only for 2-year terms. Despite how strange this practice seems from an outside perspective, it still doesn't answer the question of why this man felt the need to post these pictures and videos of the deed online to an account with his name and face attached. Best Actor. Thankfully for a change, this one seems relatively harmless and kind of wholesome, at least compared to the kind of stuff we usually cover in these videos, but it is still quite strange. A YouTube channel discussed on r/Internet Mysteries once again, simply called Best Actor. The post describes the channel quite well. Man posts the same video every day with different song, almost every day for the past 7 years. Quote, "Each video is the same. The man eats some toast, then stands up, takes his shirt off and changes. Every day, sometimes multiple times a day, he posts the same video, just with a different song. It seems pretty harmless and just a bit of a quirky rabbit hole. There are also other videos with the same thumbnail or video, a cat sitting on top of an old TV. These videos can be songs or sometimes recordings of comedy shows. Honestly, not a creepy mystery or anything, just interesting and could potentially be a fun rabbit hole to explore." And yeah, that's pretty much exactly what's going on here. You can check it out for yourself. The channel has been posting since the day it was created, on January 22nd, 2018, and has since uploaded almost 1,000 videos. Not quite every day, but still very frequently. It's always the same video of a man, in very poor quality, sitting in his room, going about his day, eating, messing with his hair, walking around and getting dressed, and going outside as a random song plays. Like the post said, there are a couple of stand-up comedy routines thrown in there as well, except this is just the audio with this picture of a cat. What someone in the comments has suggested, and I personally think as well, is that this guy, whether this is him in the video or not, is just simply archiving their favorite songs, albums, and other pieces of audio here on YouTube. Granted, it's kind of a weird way of doing it, but hey, more power to him. There's probably nothing more to this, but sometimes you gotta just throw in something that isn't outright disturbing and is just kinda strange. r/Kremersfruin. The same can be said for this subreddit, titled r/Kremersfruin, created for discussion around the 2014 disappearance of 2 women on vacation in Panama. Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon were 2 friends and Dutch college students in their early 20s who decided to go on a trip to Panama to celebrate Froon's graduation. The trip wasn't solely a vacation though. They had planned to help out the locals in some way while they were there, and began living with a local family. After about 2 weeks of touring the country, they went to a fairly remote mountain town called Bouquet, where they volunteered to help children towards the end of March. However, on April 1st, they decided to go hiking on the El Pianista Trail, but the next day, many would become concerned as not only did their parents stop receiving texts from their daughters, but they also missed an appointment they had scheduled the following day with a local guide. It was clear that something wasn't right, and that the women had gone missing on the trail. Their parents were very concerned and arrived on April 6th, along with Dutch police to search for the missing girls, and even a reward of $30,000 for any information leading to their whereabouts. Unfortunately, the initial search efforts turned up nothing conclusive, and it wouldn't be until a full 10 weeks later, on June 14th, that a woman found Lisanne Froon's backpack that she had taken with her. It contained clothes, money, and most importantly, a camera and their phones. These were, at the very least, able to give a rough timeline of events of what happened with the women, at least prior to their phones eventually running out of battery. Their activity showed that around 6 hours after they began their journey, they made their first call to international authorities, 112, and the national number, which, like in America, is 911. However, because of how deep into the mountains and forests they were, no calls ever made it through. They knew they had to conserve battery and would frequently turn off their phones, move some distance, and then try the reception again. All these attempts, however, ended up being fruitless. Froon's phone died on April 4th, while Chris Kremer's phone showed activity as late as April 11th. Remember, they went hiking on April 1st. However, one of the first oddities in the case comes from Kremer's phone. After April 5th, the PIN number was never again inputted correctly, meaning whoever had the phone and turned it on multiple times over the course of the next few days never got past the home screen, even occasionally inputting the wrong PIN code multiple times. This, along with what was found on the camera, led some to believe that possible foul play was involved, although this can simply be explained away by the fact that they didn't want to waste unnecessary battery life by entering their PIN number when you can see on an iPhone, which is what she had, if you have reception or not just from the wallpaper screen, so she was likely just periodically checking if she had service before shutting it off again. This would make some sense considering when the phone was found months later, there are reports that it still had 22% battery when it was turned back on. Although that doesn't really explain the many failed attempts to enter the PIN number. But we'll get back to this a little later. The really odd thing about this case, and why it has garnered so much attention on the internet, is because of the images found on the camera. They had taken over 600 photos on their trip, on both the camera as well as their phones, starting as early as them leaving the airport in March. They took over 100 pictures starting on day one of their hike, on April 1st, where everything seems relatively normal, and by picking apart the EXIF data in the images, we're able to sort of piece together yet another timeline, as the pictures have time codes embedded in the files. There's a really great blog right here that goes much more in depth into the pictures, as well as sort of a rough timeline and route that the girls took that they were able to piece together from all the available information. Basically though, the images show them hiking past the designated trail and continuing further and further into the woods. The last two images taken on this day, at 1:54 p.m., seem quite ominous in retrospect, knowing that they are likely walking further and further from the established trail, and shows Kremers crossing a small stream of water before turning around and facing the camera, with what seems to be a noticeably distressed look on her face, at this point knowing they might be lost. After this, no new photos would be taken until April 8th, 7 days after they went missing in the mountains. These are what piqued many people's interest, and led some to suspect that maybe foul play was actually involved. The images are all taken at night, using flash, showing the wooded area around them, as well as the night sky, possibly desperately trying to signal anyone to their location, or as a last-ditch effort to be able to see during the pitch-black darkness. The most disturbing picture, however, is image 580, taken at approximately 1:49 a.m., showing what appears to be the back of Chris Kremer's head. There is no visible injury or blood on her hair, so it's unclear if she's actually alive in this picture, or why it was even taken, though there are some disturbing theories. It's possible that during their journey, Chris may have died before Lisanne, which is not only why this picture was taken, but also why the phone couldn't be accessed. Maybe it was Froon trying to use her phone but didn't know the passcode, which would explain the failed logins. Or even more disturbingly, some believe that the girls were killed by some unknown person or group who also took these disturbing photos and had no way of getting into their phones either. In fact, some of the images taken on the night of April 8th have not been made available to the public for unknown reasons, and some have even been deleted seemingly from the camera. Some have even suggested that maybe these girls were terrified of someone or something stalking them in the forest on the night of April 8th, which is why they kept snapping these flash images, hoping to spot what was after them. No matter what happened, it's a truly horrifying scenario. Eventually, the remains of the women, as well as pieces of their clothing, were found near where their backpack was initially located. Analysis on the remains led investigators to believe that the girls succumbed to the elements, and that it was unlikely that they were attacked by a person. Though the strange pictures and circumstances surrounding their deaths leave many doubts, which is why there is an entire subreddit dedicated to this mystery, with over 17,000 members. This subreddit goes into a lot of the specific details regarding certain pictures, and this resource right here does a great job of summarizing all the known available information if you want to know more. Ice cream trucks hysteria. Remember the clown craze of 2016? Or the whole Momo thing? Yeah, it appears we have a new one on our hands. These things come and go, as any trend does. This one is pointed out in an r/Internet Mysteries post discussing the hysteria behind ice cream trucks in Virginia, possibly fueled by the recent horror film Weapons. The poster links to a few TikToks showing odd instances, usually of the same ice cream truck in Virginia, driving through neighborhoods at night, which admittedly is odd, but has since fueled many theories that these trucks are out here kidnapping children during the night, even trying to link actual missing persons cases to these ice cream trucks. Some believe it explains why Virginia has such a high missing persons rate, while others suggest that the government is actually kidnapping kids as a distraction from Hurricane Katrina. It's all quite out there with no real proof, but this notion got so widespread and popular on TikTok that the Virginia State Police came out and made a statement about the so-called mass kidnapping, debunking these rumors, stating that there has not been a surge in missing children's cases within the state. In fact, recently their numbers have gone down a bit, despite Virginia having a very centralized system for missing children, which is why it seems the state has more than the average. Most of these end up being runaways, and as of August 12th, 3,245 children went missing in the state this year, but only about 4% or 149 are still missing. It's still always going to be a concerning number until it's zero, but likely has nothing to do with a mass kidnapper, government conspiracy, or an ice cream truck. Although I will acknowledge it is weird for such a loud and visually kind of obnoxious ice cream truck to be roaming neighborhoods at 11 p.m. Hidden outlet camera. Help, is this a hidden camera? In the modern age, it seems we can never get away from being spied on. No, this isn't a VPN sponsorship integration, although it could have been a great one. I just mean to say, whether online or in the real world, the one place we should all feel safe in is inside our own homes and apartments. But then you come across a post like this and begin to question everything. This was cross-posted by the user to various subreddits, asking if they found a camera hidden inside of an outlet. I think deep down they knew the answer, but it would still be confirmed nonetheless by the top comment. There is what looks to be a piece of plastic, or more than likely a lens reflecting light at the bottom of the plug, which is not normal if you look at a typical outlet. Doing a quick search, the same user was able to find a similar outlet plug with built-in Wi-Fi and a 4K camera capable of streaming. Yeah, I could have gone my whole life without knowing these existed. so I guess you're welcome for the paranoia. Maybe check a few outlets next time you're at an Airbnb for something like this. I also found out from the comments on this post that there are actually hidden camera detectors you can find on Amazon as well. The more you know, I guess. Getting back to the OP's story though, they left a comment on one of the cross posts on r/AskElectricians to give more backstory to their situation. Quote, "I'm trying to figure out how to add more pics/edit my post, but for some of the questions in the meantime, I've had a stalker and my apartment broken into in the past. I got a camera detector for peace of mind, not thinking it would read anything, but it led me to this and detected radio waves, and it reflects back with the infrared. The bottom ground looks different than the other GFCI plugs in the rest of the complex." They further elaborated, saying people in her apartment, like family and friends when coming over, felt like they were being watched. A comment from someone claiming to be a security professional states that their apartment was clearly broken into and that this hidden camera, or whatever else was in their apartment, was broadcasting likely to something nearby, as the range of such items isn't much farther than what's capable on a local Wi-Fi network, and that they should contact the police immediately. However, the OP would never post again, and the story remains vague and mysterious with no further updates. Marilyn Manson's groupie. One of the more disturbing pieces of lost media, at least when it comes to films, and still undiscovered to this day, is an indie movie created by controversial American musician Marilyn Manson, born Brian Hugh Warner. It is a fully lost and unreleased short film, which is the subject of much speculation and myth, as described on the r/Lost Media post. Rumors persist of it being a short documentary or even a snuff film created by Manson. It's hard to say for certain what the movie is, as aside from a few clips, it has never been seen by anyone on the outside. It was said to have been created between the years of 1996 and 1998, while Manson was on tour, and was never released due to the contents of the film being so disturbing that it would likely end Manson's entire career. At least that's what his manager, Tony Ciula, believed. The plot of the film is said to center around Marilyn Manson hosting a party at his house. A young girl then comes to visit, and Marilyn Manson and several of his friends do various disturbing and lewd acts with the woman over the course of the film. Most of the content isn't actually known, but what is known about, I can't really describe here on YouTube. Point is, it's a very strange video. One of the clips that was available was shown in the video album of Dead to the World, which shows the girl tied up in a chair and screaming. Manson had wanted to release the home video, but when his manager saw it, he reportedly said, quote, "Please hide the masters. If anyone sees this, you'll go to jail and your career will be over." The woman in the video eventually did come forward in an interview and admitted that she was of age and consented to being in it. Makes you wonder then what happened in the film that disturbed his manager so much, to the point he said it would not only ruin his career but also get him sent to jail. We may never really know. Toko Tool Fun. This is definitely one of the weirder things I've come across throughout this entire series, especially here on YouTube. The mystery begins with a post on Internet Mysteries showing a strange YouTube channel and weird keyword searches which would result in strangely sexual thumbnails, such as this one right here, which I'll have to blur the image of, but I'll let you use your imagination or just look it up for yourself. It's a woman with stuff on her face. That's all I can really say about that. The poster continued saying, quote, "I posted this to a couple subs prior to here. Someone said it could be worth mentioning here as it genuinely is weird as fuck. People in the comments have mentioned getting this on search results completely unrelated to anything similar to this. The account seems to have garnered hundreds of thousands of views, with one of the videos literally having 500,000. I don't know if this is fetish content or something more fucked up, but digging into this might be worth something." The top comment shows another seemingly random search, which yields similar results. Even more bizarre than this is that someone else managed to locate 31 different YouTube channels which all do this, and linked them in the comments. Needless to say, this is a huge rabbit hole if there ever was one. The post also links to one specific channel, which has garnered quite a lot of views and subscribers over its short existence, known as Toko Tool Fun. There are a ton of these channels out there right now, but for the sake of brevity, I'll mainly just be focusing on this one channel. While gathering information and material to make this video, I took screenshots of this channel, which shows just a few days ago it only had around 6k subs. Today, as of making this volume of the series, it's sitting at over 10,000, despite all the videos being completely nonsensical. The most popular upload, only posted 13 days ago, has amassed over 1 million views. So what's going on here? What is this channel exactly? Well, it's basically impossible to say. As of now, there are 11 videos on the channel, which was created on July 26th, 2025, with a total of about 2.5 million total views. I know since viewing the channel a few days ago, some of the thumbnails and titles have changed, such as these, which now show and describe a room being cleaned, when before this the thumbnails were a lot weirder to say the least. Still, we can see the videos. At least quite a few of them have this bizarre phrase referencing a Canon EOS R50, which is a camera, possibly the one used to record the video, but more likely is that it's simply a keyword used for this strange kind of content, as searching it up on YouTube again yields very similar results to the kind of stuff you'll find on this channel. The actual videos themselves don't show anything graphic necessarily, but are quite strange in their own regard. They usually involve a person walking around a concrete room, playing with and inspecting women's underwear before playing with random objects in the room, including what looks to be toys and bottles of lotion and other random bottled liquids. It's all very bizarre, especially the fact that the thumbnails tend to be sexual in some way, and the videos typically involve women's clothing. Like many have suggested, these could be tied to some sort of fetish or fantasy, with there being a network of people involved, or possibly one individual mass posting on several different accounts. Taking another look at the videos here while editing, I noticed one of the uploads actually does show what looks to be a woman or even possibly a child laying on the floor of this creepy basement with something covering their head, as if this wasn't already disturbing enough as is. This all likely would have gone unnoticed had it not been for the fact that a lot of these strange videos got picked up by the algorithm for unknown reasons, leading many unsuspecting YouTube viewers to stumble across this bizarre rabbit hole. The channel's most popular video, uploaded on August 24th, 2025, sits at over 1 million views, with strangely only 50 comments, a lot of them clearly being bots. But the ones who were seemingly real people said things like, "I legitimately feel like I'm witnessing a crime," and "Dead internet theory is real." Taking a look at the video here, we see a man caressing some bed sheets before turning on the lights of what looks to be a basement or some kind of dungeon, to be honest, as he hangs women's clothing on a rack, sets up a bed on the floor, and then throws lotion on it, and text appears saying, "Clean up beautiful room," and that's the whole video. Most of the others found on the channel and on YouTube when searching this term are very similar in format to this one, and this channel is one of the more tame ones. Many of the others are much more explicit, quite directly in the thumbnails. Let me know if you have any theories in the comments as to what this means or what's going on here.